Let's see if we're actually streaming on YouTube. How's it going, everybody? Gonna make sure we're actually streaming here. Type something in the chat if you see it live. K4K crypto. We're gonna post it to Twitter as soon as it shows up. We got so much to go over today. Oh my goodness gracious. It's gonna be amazing. Lots of fun stuff. As soon as we figure out if we're actually live, because been changing around a lot of stuff and I don't want to stream to nothing. Ah, there we go. Looks like 22 people already. Nice. What's going on, everybody? Alright, I'm muted. That's good. First to like. What's up, everybody? How's it going? It's good to be back. It's fun doing live streams. Just had an awesome interview with Megan Mindset. We had a good one. She hasn't posted it yet. But, oh, the Hexo is streaming? I waited purposefully to avoid overlapping with Crypto Heartbeat and Rags to Riches and Crypto Panda. And then, oh, thanks, Balia Brand. $33. What a beast. Thank you so much. Thanks for showing up, everybody. I just gotta tweet this out. Thank you, Brand. Balia Brand, everyone. While you're waiting for me to tweet this out, and it might have already been tweeted out because it's like automatic or whatever, but everyone should go follow Balia Brand. He's got 2 different channels. Check him out. You can click him on in the waiting room. You just click on his name, go subscribe, help him out. He makes awesome content. He's been around longer than me making content. Let me check my Twitter here. Don't worry, I got some cool stuff to show you guys. It's not just gonna be me talking into the void forever, you know. All right. Check my Twitter. See if it actually posted or if I have to do it manually. I might as well just yeah, this needs reposted because it like did it weird. All right, 1 second. Come on. Restream. Got some cool stuff to go over today, guys. It's gonna be a little clunky in the beginning. Okay. Gotta get the link to the video. Here it is. And we're gonna post it with lots of hashtags. Alright. We got Hex. I should really have these already pre-typed out. Doesn't let me do it in Restream. Very sad. We got ADA, we'll tag Bitcoin, we'll tag crypto, Ethereum, of course, NFTs, gotta get that in there. Alright, that should be good. Streaming live Q&A, get your questions answered. Okay. I asked yesterday everybody to send questions to this one tweet I had for this video, and also in my YouTube I told people to put your questions there. So we will go over those, and I also this might be a long live stream, not gonna lie. This might be like multiple hours, so it's gonna be a lot of content. I probably should do separate videos for these things, but you know how it goes. Get a little excited. Gotta just share it when I got it. All right. So let me just move this one thing over here, and we'll get going. I need to pop out my chat. 1 sec, so I can see you guys. I don't want to be missing people's stuff, you know. pop out chat. There we go. There it is. Oh yeah, shout out to all my members supporting me on the channel. Got a whole list of guys. We got Francisco, Hexy Cajun in the chat, Cody Peterson, Eamon, Otto4, Eroy, Pay Me Hex, YTC, and Don Figuery. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Completely unnecessary, but it does make me feel like I'm putting out content that people appreciate. So that's like, I like it for the feedback wise, and you know, who doesn't like an extra, well, I don't get fast food, but I was gonna say a quarter pounder every once in a while, but all right. Whew. All right. First, let's start off. Let's get the ball rolling, guys. I was graced with the presence of a godly figure in the crypto community today. Did not expect this to happen. You guys are like, what's going on? Let's take a look at this. Check it out. I tweeted today, or 17 hours ago. Oh, why am I so big? What's going on here? Gotta make myself smaller here. Oh! I guess we'll just go little. Alright, let's zoom in. I just noticed that I was close to 7777 subscribers, so I was sniping that, like, as soon as I was at 7775, then it was like 7776, then 7777, I was like, screenshot, boom, I'm making a post about it, because that's a cool number, like, jackpot. Any Nagaboo fans in the chat? And I posted, I remember the real God Whale, you know, the Ethereum God Whale, who has like 100,000 plus Ethereum, and he like market bought Hex way early on, and sacrificed, I think, to both of the projects. I was like, thanks for all the support, everyone, and I added him on Twitter, which we have confirmed that it is the real God Whale, because Funding Jim messaged him publicly and was like, hey, if you're the real God Whale, send whatever to this address that he controls and he can confirm it. God Whale sends him 7777 Hex, I believe, and to prove it. And so we were like, okay, that's the real God Whale, and this is his account. And so and so God Whale responded. He hasn't said anything I haven't seen anything in like months since he came out a while ago, and to stop another guy who was pretending to be God Whale for fun. This guy came out and was like, I'm actually the real God Whale, and I don't appreciate you, like, you might scam people in the future, so probably don't do that. And so he came out as the real God Whale, and look what he said. You really make great content, my brother, so you deserve a blessing from God. Maybe it's a sign. Looking forward to your next video. What? This guy with hundreds of millions of dollars likes my stuff. How cool is that? That's pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway, we're not just here to be happy or whatever. I guess we can be happy, but we got Jesse Bellato. How do we get free coins for largest upcoming airdrop if we have on exchange? Well, you don't want to have it on exchange, first of all. I mean, that's a really simple question to answer. You're not going to get any free coins unless the exchange decides to like give them out to people, which they might not do. So don't bet on that. You want to move your coins off of the exchange and hold them in your own wallet, like a MetaMask wallet. Otherwise, you're not going to get any free airdrop. You miss out, which is how most other airdrops have been in the past. There's like been a couple that exchanges actually gave their users. All the other ones, the exchange keeps it all. It's a big scam. So, yeah, hope that answers your question. Please give your, Charles Howard says, please give your 6-month, 1 and 2 year prediction for Pulsechain. I appreciate the $5. But this is not a price prediction channel. Everyone wants, like, what do you guys care what I say? No one can actually, like, in regards to the price in the future, many months in ahead, why do you think Richard never says it's going to be this price that day? It's not just because he has, like, a legal liability to not give you guys expectations, but it's also, like, near impossible to get it right multiple months ahead. Plus, you guys gotta, there's so much that goes into it. There's like a million minds working to figure out what's the value of something, and the market is what decides what these things are worth. It's like the market is one big mind combined, and they kind of figure out what the price is. One guy doesn't go, this is the price, and then he like that's, if you can do that, you would have infinite money, because you would just be like, oh, it's gonna be this price, buy this, do that, do with this other coin, 10x that, like, so price predictions are fun because you're just like, oh, let me count how much money I might have, but I'm not gonna give you like a ridiculous answer like that I can't be confident, in. I do see many multiples of returns with cryptocurrency versus the dollar. So most people have dollars and most people can multiply that stuff. So because they just keep making more of it, it's less scarce over time. Whereas crypto, especially our deflationary coins, Pulsechain, Pulsex, those you cannot get diluted in. No one can go and mint more Pulsechain and then you have less of the total wealth of the system. You have what you have at the beginning, and there's never going to be any more total supply. So that is pretty cool. Let's stop looking at this. What do we got here? Check this out. Check this out. There's so many things to go over because I found out something that might scare people, but then it's like I'll soften the blow, and it's actually kind of good news. You don't even know how good these devs are that are working on this stuff. So we've got, and like I want to get to everyone's questions in the comments, but I've already got so many questions in the comments that were looking at my Twitter yesterday, and I got to go through those too, and the ones in my YouTube. So I'll try and do a mixture of everything and answer the good questions. All right, so I asked on Twitter, would you sell your Pulse for less than a 10,000th of a dollar? Pretty much nobody said they would. Like, that's 3,000 votes. You're like, well, how? And I only let it go for 24 hours. So if we know only like 40,000 people sacrificed to Pulse, that's almost it's almost like 10% of the people were like, no way. And so I put that out there because I wanted to get like extra reinforcement of what people believe Pulse price is going to be. Pulse has a very similar launching mechanism to the Ethereum ICO, like Ethereum itself, which I am going to bring up over here in a second. So everyone who bought into Pulse, everyone kind of starts at like, some people have bonus multipliers. So if you put in like 20 grand or something, you got like a 1.2 bonus multiplier. If you put in the max, you got around like 2.4 average X multiplier on your points, like if you were the top guy. Now these people, like, sure, they technically are in profit based on their multiplier, based on that average price. They're a little bit higher than that, but like it's not multiple X's. No one's up 10X at the start. No one's up even 3X. So the important thing to understand is if everyone is locked in at this price floor, we're starting the chain off at a bottom. Because when do bottoms normally get found? After everyone who has sold doesn't, like, and most people are locking in losses, and then you go up. And so if everyone would have to lock in a loss to push the price down, we're basically already at the bottom. I'll show you what Ethereum looked like at its launch, and you're like, holy crap, if this happens if this happens for Pulsechain, it's going to be amazing. So let me pull it up, and then I'll switch this screen here. I'm such a little man on the screen. Maybe I should get bigger. 1 second. Yeah. Oh, my thing's in the way. Maybe I'll go over here. Woo! All right. This is from 2014. It's like 8 years ago. How crazy is that? So this is on the blog ethereum.org. Oh, you can't see the top, but if you look at it, look what they did for Ethereum. People could buy Ethereum with Bitcoin at the time, just like in our sacrifice phase. I know we're not buying anything. This sacrifice phase is a bit different. You're not buying anything. You're not guaranteed anything. These people were guaranteeing that you would get Ethereum. So, anyway. So these people, the rate started at 2,000 ETH per BTC. And then it stayed that way for 14 days, kind of like the best rate for Pulse and PulseX was for a certain amount of days, and then it started to decline to the final rate of this amount, which is kind of a funny, it's like elite. It's like a nerd word, nerd number. And then that was over the last 42 days. And so we have basically a similar type of structure going into the launch of this thing. Now, how did this work out for Ethereum? All right, let's open up this thing that's going to be asking me to reload it. Let me reload it. All right, let's get rid of this scary thing. Boop, bop, bing. All right. This is the early months of Ethereum. Let's look at some stuff. Now, we can't use the magnet because it goes all the way to the bottom, so we're going to go to 31 cents, which is what the average person paid. All right, so we're just going to mark it there. I guess we'll put it, I'm just going to put it there. Just going to put that there for now. All right, so in the first month, so everyone who pretty much got into this Ethereum sale, they got it for 31 cents. Look what it launched at. It launched at $3. That's 10x. 10x! You know, people are wondering, oh, if people already put in all these millions of dollars into these sacrifices, who's going to buy it after us? Well, you can say the same thing about this. It's like, literally anyone who wasn't in it, who doesn't have it, how are they going to get it? They have to buy it. And this is even, ours is even better. It's even better because there's no inflation being minted after this. It's not like Ethereum where they're like, all right, and now the chain's going and we're minting inflation every day and creating more. That would create people who, if they're getting the inflation, they can be like cash positive, selling the price down, even though they didn't like necessarily pay for it in the very beginning. We don't have that problem in Pulsechain and PulseX. It's just only the people who got it can get it. Now there is one caveat to that, and we'll get to that later. But that gets more technical. We're gonna get kind of technical on this one. Oh my, I have to read this comment before it's gone. Okay, Jesse Bellato says, if there's a set date for their largest airdrop, for this largest airdrop, I don't want to hold on MetaMask until it's close due to hacking. You're more likely to get hacked on a centralized exchange than your own personal wallet, in my opinion. But there is no set specific date. We do know the sacrifice phase for PulseX is at the February 25th, but we don't know if we're launching like the next day or after a week after that. We have to, there's like 3 more things to test. We have to test on testnet the AMM fixer bot at the start of the launch of the chain. So we basically have to do a testnet version 3. And we also have to give everyone their values of Pulse at the start. So those are 2 different things from like their sacrifice amounts. And then you also have to the DAO system, which controls the inflation token. That basically, those are the 3 things we have to figure out. Everything else is done, like Uniswap front end working, go.hex.com working. Like the Pulsechain actual DEX is basically it is working. It's just we got to figure out they do have to test the AMM fixer bot at the launch of the project. So hope that answers your question. But basically, yeah, if you are afraid of holding stuff in your own wallet, I don't know why you would be. That's like the safest place for it. Exchanges get hacked all the time. You would want to, you can just wait probably till like the 24th or something, and then pull it off into your wallet, and there you go. Then you're like, should be good. All right, back to this chart. Okay, so launching at 10x because there's way more people that will find out about it than already know about it. That number can only grow. You're never gonna have less people that know about this project over time. It can only grow unless literally no one else found out about it and someone who knew about it died. That's it. Like that's very unlikely in my opinion, and very sad. We don't laugh at that. So, all right, this is what we're looking at. So in the first 3 months, now you might be wondering, oh, my mouse wasn't over here the whole time. Okay. So it started off at a 10x. So the first month, then it dropped from a 10x to what? Oh, basically more than half because it was at $3, went below $1.5. And so you're like, the people who bought in early are basically up 5x or so after the first month. Then they're only up. I'm not going to do the math completely backwards. This is weird. But basically, people got in at this level. See at the bottom here. And you're wondering, oh, what's this wick? That's on Kraken. Someone fat fingered, and so for like an hour or a day or something less than that, someone pushed the price down to 15 cents for like a millisecond. It's like they're just thin order bucks. And so that happened, and then it never went down there again. Maybe that'll happen with Pulsechain. Maybe but like that's the thing is, it's like if that happens, it's like the best buying opportunity possible because you can get it cheaper than people who paid at the very base level price. Because anyone who would sell it early means they're selling for a loss if they sell it below the 10,000th of a penny. So who's going to do that? I don't know. That's kind of the basis for a lot of my calculations I've got here coming out soon. So, all right. So we're looking here. It drops after 3 months. It drops to 40, I think 1 cents. 41, 2. Man, this thing is very hard to move. Okay, so 41 cents. I did the math. So basically, even after 3 months of dumpage, after it 10x'd, it's an 86% drop. I guess we can draw it right now. Get the magnet on here. 86% drop over 3 months, but you're still up 35%. Here, it's got to find 32. So even if you go here, look up to the bottom of that, 30. My calculations were it went to like 41 or something. It's a bit something like that. 35% after it dumps 86% because it launched at this absurd 3x or 10x. And so since we have a very similar style of how we deployed the initial coin supply to how Ethereum did it, I don't see why it would have any sort of different outcome. There is one thing that is different, is there's all of these coins that are getting free airdrops, and they are going to be, well, they're going to be paired up with Pulse, and those people who got the free airdrops can actually, like, they can cash in their free stuff that they didn't pay anything for Pulse. So those people can get Pulse at basically a zero cost basis, but there's only so much Pulse available. And I have all the calculations for that. So we should get to that in this video. I'm telling you, it's going to be a long one. Like, probably should have broke this down more, but I didn't. I really appreciate everyone showing up to the video. This is going to be, I got really fun stuff to talk about. Oh man, there's so many. It's like, do I go with the people's questions? Oh, I don't want to go there yet. That's some later stuff. All right. Let's see. We're going to go with what we're going to do next, which is answer some questions. We'll do like one question from each location that I have. I don't want to show this other tab though. Okay, there we go. I'm going to answer a question from my YouTube post first here. All right. Hey K4K, love your work. I'm curious as to where the Pulse tokens will come from during the first 24 hours of opening to be able to swap from PLSX. Will these be minted as extra Pulse? Thanks in advance. Curious as to where the Pulse tokens will come from during the first 24 hours. Swap from Pulse. What? Is he saying like he doesn't know where any of the pulse supply comes from? Like people get airdropped their coins at the start. Everyone has their pulse that they sacrifice for if they did. And the pulse tokens that I also know of are the ones that are bought up by or injected into those Uniswap and SushiSwap pools on Pulsechain. It goes in, pushes some in there, buys up all the PRC20, then it owns the PRC20, then it mints even more Pulse to pair up with that to put into Pulse X. That's what it does. And so that's where some Pulse will be. Some will be in the liquidity pools owned by the AMM bot. And that's where you can... See, you're saying like swap from Pulse X. I don't know what that means. You mean swapping to? Maybe I should have read a better question. Okay. Let's go with one from Twitter. Okay. How can we get the incentive token if all hex is staked and have PLSX? The incentive token we do need more information on. It is going to have a DAO system attached to it. So basically people can vote using PLSX to decide which pools get this incentive token. And so one that I've seen that works really well is like the Curve DAO system, where that's completely controlled by the users of the Curve token. You can lock up your stuff. It'd be actually really bullish for PulseX if it's that one, if we decide to go with that one. We may go with Compound. That's what Uniswap did as their voting mechanism. But I should look into Compound more because that's what Uniswap used. But I don't know if we could do it for the Curve one, but basically you lock up your Curve and then you get up to one voting Curve based on if you lock it from 1 to 4 years. So one Curve for 1 year is only 0.25 Curve as voting power. But if you lock it up for 4 years, it's one whole vote power. And so imagine that dump of where PulseX would go if we did it that way. I don't know if we can do that, but that would be super cool. Richard's been pretty tight-lipped about what the DAO is going to be specifically, but that would be pretty sweet. If anyone wants to do research into the Uniswap DAO, it may be something similar to that, just because Uniswap probably picked one that's very, very secure. I know Curve hasn't been like hacked or anything. So, and Curve is it's Curve.finance. It's just it's where you can trade stable coins with like almost zero slippage. Basically, you can go for like DAI to USDC because lots of liquidity is parked there because they're being paid by the Curve token. So they decide how much Curve token goes to them, and that's how they're incentivized to keep their liquidity there. Anyway. Some guy says, "Can you help me set up a wallet?" And then he's laughing. So obviously that's like a joke. Nice. This guy asked when Moon. That's not getting anything. All right. Let's go with when Pulse launch, are we getting copies of every single ERC20 token we own? Even bad coins. He used a different word, but I'll say bad coins. I think they will be worthless until market decide, right? What if own stablecoin like USDC, will that be also copied? Yeah, USDC will be copied. It has no redeemability, which won't peg it to $1 anymore, so it's like going to be probably not worth $1, but that's what would peg it to $1? It's not pegged anymore. It's not redeemable. So yeah, every coin is getting copies. You're getting copies over there. Now, do I want to go to the next super cool thing? Yeah, I do. After we read Richard P. Should we be scared of Ethereum 2.0? Also, shouldn't Pulse try to adopt NFT even though Richard think it's stupid because it's getting big right now? Richard has talked, he's like, I've heard him in some of the spaces, he's like, dude, if I made an NFT platform, don't you think it'd be amazing? And I'm just like, yeah, he probably would make it really good. ETH 2.0, we have better features than them and better just how it's set up for how you can be a part of the network and get a percent of the inflation. It's actually decentralized because you can actually just do it. You can delegate your stuff through a contract directly to the validators, whereas in Ethereum, you have to, if you don't have 32 ETH, you don't have like, what is it like $150,000, something like that. If you don't have that, you have to like give up your coins to somebody and you hope they give you your coins back for and like a return on your stuff. There's no like decentralized way to do it. So we have a way for you to make basically yield decentralized in a decentralized way better than Ethereum 2.0 at launch, and they're not even, I mean, we haven't launched yet either, so you can't be like, well, we launched and they didn't yet. But I have a feeling we're going to launch way before ETH 2.0. And then Vitalik even said, yeah, we might get fully done with ETH 2.0 in 6 years. What? What? Oh, yeah, I probably should say trustless, the Murky said. Richard P says, but can't Vitalik just do something similar? I'm sure he has a team too also, not sure how that works. There's also a lot of politics involved with, you know, they have a foundation. It's basically like a company. And I think there's people invested in that. And so they kind of have a say in how things are done. And so there's like the whole mining ecosystem they have to think about and stuff. We don't have any of that. We're like a streamlined, agile company, decentralized company in a way. And like Richard can do whatever he wants because he's an individual and he can give free stuff to anyone. And so that's why the sacrifice phase is amazing, because you can sacrifice using the blockchain to any sort of, you can give it to for whatever reason. You could sending your resources anywhere on the blockchain, since it's trackable. Anyone else, any individual who creates any project can go, I'm going to give it to people who sent to this address or interacted with this protocol, which all these other protocols who did airdrops, that's what they did. They were like, oh, you used this protocol, you get this airdrop. That's exactly what Richard's doing. And there's no way to like, unless they ban giving free stuff away, then you can't really stop this type of raise of money. And so I think it's pretty sweet to figure that out by Richard. I don't know if that answered the question. Let me see that. I hope that did. Yeah, well, we're also launching sooner. So there's just lots of advantages to Pulsechain to even ETH 2.0 if it was out. Like, I think they're still inflationary even after ETH 2.0 comes out. So it's like, all right, we're going to be deflationary before you. What are you doing? Like, they're just trying to, like, they're like playing catch up. Like, Richard's already like, oh, we are, you know, the better recipe, and we're just going to implement it faster because we've been working on it for like a month, or not a month, like almost a year now or more. All right. So let's go with, all right, we're showing that on screen. What else do we want to show? Oh, here, this is just a cool statistic. Check this out. Oh, what up, Funding Jim? Subscribe to Funding Jim. That guy is awesome. He's amazing. He talks to like billionaires for fun. He's very wise. He's been through a lot too. If you watch his interview with Lit on My Life is Awesome, that guy is like full. I would have an enjoyable time just talking to that guy about anything, just learning about all the stuff he's gone through with, like, you know, army, and he swam like underwater for multiple miles. That's crazy, on like an attack team. What is that? I just sit in my room and I make videos because I use my brain. Like that. That's a much lower risk than the stuff that he's gone through, and he's also a very wise businessman. And he's done a lot for the Hex community, so shout out to Funding Jim. Alright, why am I showing this? This is what I wanted to show. So back in 2014, although I think it was like August 2015 whenever it like launched. So where's that? Basically around this like 2000 area. Okay, So you could have bought ETH at 31 cents this year. All right? You could have bought ETH at 31 cents. If you bought ETH, I mean, if you bought the S&P 500 then, you made a 2x in 8 years or 7 years. A 2x. What? What? Ethereum did 16,000x. 16,000x or 2x. I feel like that's all you got to show to the people who are into stocks. You're like, oh, dude, you made a 2x on a rip. That's pretty bad. So that means if you like made a bet with a guy and you were like, hey, I think Ethereum's going to do better, this crypto thing, versus you and your S&P 500, you're like, yeah, I'll take that bet. Well, you did 8,000x better than that guy in 7 years. Wow, wrecked. Oof. It's crazy. You know, people originally got into the stock market because since money was no longer being scarce somewhere else, the stock market was the only place where you're like, yeah, this is how many shares there are, and everyone else has to fight over them. Like, you can't get these. We're not just going to make more. Sometimes they do make more, but like, it's not just super arbitrary and constant. And so people would just flood money into the stock market to protect their buying power. So now we're doing it with crypto, and crypto has way better properties than stocks. It basically has all the properties of the best money ever. On top of it has utility. You're just like, holy moly, crushing it. Wow. Okay, well, we got two amazing people in the chat here. We got Mr. Moonsilver. Pulse sacrificers get around 10% of the Pulse total supply. Yep. Can you explain who owns the rest? Isn't PulseX a better deal because... That is a good question. The OA sacrificed $13 billion of Hex on the last day of the Pulsechain sacrifice. And so they will have 90% of the Pulse. Now, I've done research into Gunther's. He has an audit channel on like what has the Hex origin address done, how much do their daughter addresses own, and basically it comes around to around 90%. Now, I don't want to get too deep into this subject because it's not really necessary for... I mean, all you have to do is look at the chart, really. It's just, we crush every other crypto. We have slightly different ways of doing things with this type of crypto. And it seems to be working amazingly for 2 years, flawless uptime, multiple millionaires created. So a lot of people get this idea that, oh, if one guy owns a lot of it, or one entity, that's bad for price. When everything else in the real world points to one guy having a lot of control like that actually is good for the outcome. Like, you don't have a company get started by like 1,000 guys deciding on an idea and shouting at the room at each other like, yeah, we should do this, and then the other guy's like, no, we should do this. No, you have one guy who has an idea and he builds something amazing, and he gets a team that helps him like work on it, and that guy usually gets most of the money. Everyone else who participates, they also make a lot of money if it's a good idea. They just don't make as much as the guy who totally crushed it and came up with the great idea. That's fair. That's how it's always worked. You can't just like remove that guy's reason to come up with the awesome idea by giving all the value to everyone else. Like, what did they do? They don't deserve most of the pie just because they exist. Like, what? You have to have the incentive structures aligned. And so I think it's totally fair. If we all get to become millionaires, that's fine if there's a trillionaire out there, I think that's okay. And then we got Funding Jim. He says, keep up the info feed. I love the comparisons to real estate, stock, gold, silver, returns. We are in an amazing position for outsized gains versus risk, for sure. Yep. Nothing competes. That's right. See, Funding Jim knows. This is probably the similar stuff that he tells all the people that are like legacy rich. Because the way I see it, we are in a very similar time period to like the 1600s, where money-wise, where in the West African countries there, they were using beads as currency. Like that was their money. They're like, these are hard to create. It was hard to create for them. And they were rare enough, but not too rare that like, it was impossible to find it. And so they had these glass beads and people would trade them and that was their money. Well, when the Europeans came over and they were like, wait, what the heck? These guys are using beads made of glass as their money. So what did they do? They went back to where they could manufacture boatloads, literal ship hulls full of these glass beads, and they came in and they just inflated the supply of these beads like crazy. Even though the Africans were smart, they were like, hey, some of these aren't real, or they aren't authentic enough, and then they would just make more realistic ones, and like then they were less hard, like they were harder to detect and stuff. But eventually, basically, they just super inflated the whole supply of the currency, and the Europeans creating all the supply basically extracted all the real value, like the real scarce resources, like gold and ivory and textiles and stuff like that. So the people who are at the best advantage are the people who realize what money is worthless and easy to create and not scarce, and trading all of that wealth for the next best money or anything else that's more scarce. And so what they did is they traded all those beads that they were able to create for cheap back in Europe. They brought them over, they bought the gold and the stuff that you can't just create for cheap. And so we're not, I think all the people who are rich in dollar terms and stuff like that, they're holding the beads and we're holding the gold. Like we have the gold in crypto. Crypto's the gold. And so everyone is going, if you don't update to the gold, you are holding these beads that there are millions and billions and jillions of. And so they can't buy anything anymore. And so even if you are rich in the legacy system, you could be broke in this new world system. It's not going to happen overnight, but slowly but surely, crypto, the better money system, is going to overtake anything else in traditional finance, money-wise. And so, boom, that's pretty cool in my opinion. There's doesn't matter how rich you were before, if the money you had becomes worthless, you have no wealth anymore. Wealth is your buying power. So yeah, you want to preserve your buying power. Crypto is that, and crypto evolves fast as well. So even if we have the best crypto now, there can be better. I don't know how it can get better, but people didn't think money could get better for the last 100 years, and then now it has, and now it's like, okay, we better upgrade, or you're gonna miss out. You're gonna lose your wealth. So you want to get into crypto? No, not financial advice on this channel, of course. So, yeah, for sure. Okay, what else we got here? Oh, well, let's break this down a little bit. I really wanted to answer a bunch of questions for people, but I just have so much good topics to go over. I have this whole paper. So if we look here, we got to zoom in. So originally, there's something I just was figuring out. You look at this contract, it's the WETH contract, wrapped Ethereum. And whenever Richard made the initial statement that the fixer bot would probably have to do the square root of how much wrapped Ethereum there is, well, it turns out, and that at the time was there was 6%, so we thought only what was it, 2.25% of supply would have to be minted. But as it turns out, that only applies to DEX coins, as far as I understand. And so even though there's 7.7 million WETH here, and WETH is just wrapped Ethereum, because you have to wrap Ethereum to use it in any sort of smart contract, because Ethereum itself is not ERC20 compatible. It's not an ERC20, it's the native token. And so on Pulsechain there will be wrapped PLS. It has the exact same value as the native token. It's just wrapped so that it acts as basically a substitute for that value. Anyway, so there's this amount sitting in here. And so I think, oh man, I wish I had all my math up right now. Should have done that. Let me go here. Boom. Okay, so that's 4.2 5 million. All right, so that's around like, I think it's around like 5%. So let me go to Wolfram here. Boop, zoop, zoop. I think there's like 119 million. What do we have? 7 million? Is this what I want to do? 7.7 million? If I do dumb math on stream, you can't laugh. It's not allowed. What did this tell me? What was I looking for? Let's see. Where was it? Oh, okay. Right. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what percent that is. So it's around like 5 or whatever percent. It doesn't show you there. I'm not doing math on stream. You can't get me. Okay. So, but if you look here at Maker holds 2.1 million, which is like, what is a third of that? Aave holds 1.3 million. And then lots of it is in a bridge and all this other stuff that will not be carried over to Pulsechain, or will not be like bought up like it is in the dexes, because these aren't dexes like in Maker and stuff like that. Like those ones, I don't believe like they will get copied over. Like this will just be 2 million Pulse, which is like nothing. Which means these things are I don't know how these are going to work, because like Aave, that's like a lending protocol, and so you can collateralize against your ETH to get all these other tokens like that are interest bearing. And so if you, let me move this. And so if the stuff that's collateralizing those tokens is no longer, worth as much as it was, that kind of like breaks it, in my opinion. Like if it was 100 ETH and then it's 100 Pulse backing whatever, it's like, well, we know that 100 Pulse is not equal to 100 ETH. And so, obviously we don't know what any of these tokens are USD wise, but it's still not gonna, when something is inflated that much, it's not gonna have that same value. So those ones, I'm not sure how the devs plan to, if they can pump in Pulse to that to make the ratios right like they do in the dexes, because they're not like dexes. They use oracles to get their prices. So anything with oracles is like, it's probably not going to work on Pulsechain right away. So those ones, you can't count those. And then if you add up all the Uniswap ones, I did it already. If you add up all the Uniswap amounts, and I also have it on this site, it only has this percent of Ethereum. Oh, let me zoom in here. Only this percent of Ethereum is in Uniswap. And I went to and did it for SushiSwap. I did it for 0x. I did it for Balancer. Did it for Bancor. Added them all up. And we only get about 1.07% of the ETH total supply is in these dexes that we can like harvest from. And so that means, guys, this is like high level stuff. So like if you don't understand the AMM bot and how it works, you got to go watch my other video. This isn't for everybody. It's going to be kind of confusing, unless you know the other stuff. But for people who want to know the higher level stuff, this will help them, I think, help get these ideas out. Then we can bounce more ideas off, fix some stuff. So let me see here. 1.07. I have it over here somewhere. And so basically what that turns into is, instead of 3.2 trillion Pulse being created and put into these pools, that's based off of the 2.5% number of created Pulse from the AMM bot, based on, let me go back to this. Let me make that big again. 1 second. Check my other thing here. I got something cool to show you. It's gonna scare you, and then it's gonna make you be like, we're in the good hands, boys. I kind of wanted to like slow roll it and play it like it was bad news, but kind of cool. All right, let me yeah. All right. Oh, how do you zoom in? Man, zoom in. Are these visible? Oops, so. Okay. Oops. Oh, don't want to reveal that yet. All right, we're gonna go down. Now these are the numbers I'm pulling it from based off of the Pulsechain sacrifice. Now let me go down a little bit more. Whoa! Wow. Come on. All right, we'll just cut off a little bit. One of these. Okay. So, this is it's still somewhat rough estimates because, more people sacrificed even after they weren't supposed to, and that's fine. But these are basically what the total supply of Pulse will look like. So, and I'm sorry I'm not getting to everybody's like questions in the chat, but I'm some Jimmy Neutron type numbers. I want to read, I wish I could just do everything at once, but if I don't talk about the stuff that I've written down, I'll just read chat the whole time, and then that's not the best, kind of content I can make. So I'm going to try and get through this stuff, and then, then I can go through the chat. So we're looking at around 14 trillion Pulse controlled by sacrificers. Then there's this OA address that will own, that's around, see it's 114, was that trillion? So basically 90% of the supply is owned by this address. And if it's anything like Hex, it's never sold a coin. I doubt this one will ever have to sell a coin. Why would it ever have to when it has literally hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of stable coin from all the sacrificing? Why would it ruin its own project's value, to extract a little bit? Because it can only extract what liquidity there is in stable coins or whatever it wants to get. It can't just remove hundreds of millions of billions of dollars, even though it could technically be worth that much. It can't extract that value. It can only extract what's in the pools. There's not going to be billions of dollars of money in the pools. So now see this lick pools balancing supply? That is what was originally thought. I mean, maybe Richard has it all figured out and this is super correct, but I don't think it is. I think there's only going to be, like I said, I added up all the dexes, and it's going to be 1.07%. And that's around 1.4 trillion or so, instead of 3.2. So it's less than half of, because you don't want tons and tons of the supply available in those pools, really, because that's going to be what people can sell their all those free airdropped coins that everybody got. Everybody who got all this USDC that's gonna probably won't hold its peg, they can trade that for Pulse. And so whatever's out there, if they don't care about that free token they got, they can get Pulse, which we know kind of has a base level price. And so it should hold its value, even if it gets sold into, because everyone is oh man, I have so much cool stuff to get into. I feel like I just begun. There's so much to get through. So the whales in Pulse and Pulsechain and PulseX, do you think they're gonna let another whale come in and buy up more Pulse and PulseX than they had in the sacrifice phase at a better price? Just think of it that way. Why? If they thought that they could manipulate the price down and get even more, would they have even sacrificed? If they thought they could come from the outside and just push it down somehow, how are you going to push it down if you don't own any? You have to buy it first before you can manipulate the price. And the risk for any whale to potentially, because they'd have to sell basically at a loss, other than their bonus multiplier amount, that should put them a little ahead. But they would have to basically lock in a loss, pushing the price down, in hopes that more people than them sell, by a significant amount, and then they'd have to rebuy it. But when we have an OA who owns 90% of the supply, they can be cash positive buying up any whale supply that they try to dump. They can buy it up because they have all that sacrifice money. They can just they can buy it up, and then that whale's like removed from the market, and then you're just like, okay, this price is never going to go below that level because everyone wants to buy it because no one wants anyone getting a better deal than them, and people have all this dry powder, and there's also all this pent up demand for the stuff. Like people are like, oh man, I missed the sacrifice. I don't want to sacrifice now. I'll buy it on launch day. There's also the whole thought that there's these companies who are like investment funds, and their company would never allow them to invest in something that's not like a guarantee or a promise, or they're not even getting finality on their purchase. And so if you have like $100 million firm or something, and you can't go, well, this guy says he may give out coins to people who send money to this address or whatever as a free speech, like they're not going to be able to tell their investors that that's like what they should be doing. Like they can't do that. So they basically have to wait for this thing to actually launch before they can get in. So those guys would just have to wait, and they're going to have to market buy above that level that we've set as a price floor. We're basically, as the sacrifice set, bootstrapping the whole network's value. Like it's not like we're taking the hit, but like we're kind of like, we're not selling for cheaper. There's not any more going to be made. You got to buy it. You got to buy from whatever's available in the liquidity pools. And, if no one else adds any, then it's just going to get more and more rare in the liquidity pools. And that means price goes way, way, way up. So you can only buy what's available in liquidity pools. Like if a bunch of people own 99% of the supply and only 1%'s in the pools, you can only buy from the 1%. It's like it doesn't matter what everyone else owns. That's not in the liquidity pools, so it's not for sale. All right. So now let's get to this interesting thing. I wrote it out very sloppily, so get ready for that. This is I'll run you through it. This is like I was gonna make a video. I probably won't make the video because I don't want to I don't know, get attacked by Richard for half jokingly fudding. But I was gonna make a video called I tried to hack Pulsechain or something like that. Because basically I found out this way, and it has been talked about before, but I kind of broke it down to be simple to understand how anyone could do this. So, if we know the harvester bot goes in and it basically 1.2 million X's the ETH side, and then create and basically the pool that's in PulseX will be 1.2 million times whatever the ETH originally was in the Uniswap pool. That's what it'll look like. I'm cutting some steps there, but that's kind of what it looks like. So, if it were to do that, then I could make myself a K for K coin, and I mint myself 10 billion of those. I'm like, sweet, got 10 billion K for K coin, awesome. Then you can use any amount of ETH, doesn't matter. We'll just say I get some friends and we put together 10,000 ETH, because it's basically a no risk play. You just put ETH aside, and you're able to do this. You can do it with any amount. So you pair 10,000 K for K coins, out of my 10 billion, with 10,000 ETH. You put it in the liquidity pool. And now there's no risk to you because no one can go and purchase in and out of it because they don't own any of the K for K coin except for you. So no, it's not like you gave it to other people and they can extract all the ETH. Only you have it. But the harvest bot comes in after the fork, and it's going to leave the uni pair with only 10,000. Only 10 K for K coin. We're assuming just a 1 million, supply increase, and so we are going to divide the K for K stack by 1,000, and we're going to multiply the ETH stack by 1,000, and that's how much. That's basically the new ratio in the Uniswap pool. Well, you're wondering, where did the 10,000 basically K for K coin go? That's owned by the AMM harvester bot, And then in order to keep this ratio, because apparently 10 K for K coin is worth 10 million pulse in this scenario based on this liquidity pool. And so it would create a pool in PulseX for 9,990 K for K coin to 10 billion pulse. I, as the K for K coin holder, I have 10 billion copied over K for K coins, and I can trade those for the pulse in that pool. Only I can do it. Only me. Only I hold it. So even just my first 10,000 of my copied 10 billion K for K coins. I hope you guys can read this. Okay, you can. Don't worry, it ends on a good note. It's no risk here, boys. So even my first 10,000 of my 10 billion copied K for K coins, I get basically half of the I get 5 billion pulse for 10,000 of these things. But of course, I don't care about any of these K for K coins, so I might as well just dump them all in there. I can basically extract 10 billion pulse for free. I mean, of course, you'd have to start with 10K ETH at your disposal, but you're not really risking it because it's a free copy on another chain. And you can just do whatever you want with the ETH after that. But 10 billion pulse is only around like $1 million of sacrifice. If you consider it at this price. But they get it fraudulently. You shouldn't be able to do that. Now, okay, this is no cause for alarm. This isn't even going to be an issue whatsoever. It basically just confirms that there's going to be a whitelist of coins that get harvested. It's not going to be every pair. This is what we would call a rogue pool of someone who creates basically a nefarious pool just to possibly exploit the bot. But this is never going to play out. I've already mentioned it to the team, basically. And I'm pretty sure they were already aware of it. But there's all types of these crazy scenarios in the background that the devs they've got it already figured out. You're in good hands. Like this stuff, it's not even an issue. I just thought it was interesting because it was like, if the bot were to just do everything, you can easily exploit it. So this basically just confirms that it's going to be a whitelist of probably only high quality coins are going to get harvested. So just because you make it could be contract age, not a bad idea. Like they could go by contract age, so people who know about Pulse can't just like create something scammy. Recently. Oh yeah, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, get the video bumping on the YouTube algorithm. Spread the awesome news. I know this video is all over the place. It's kind of how we do things. But I thought this was kind of funny to show that it's like, well, I'm glad that they've already thought about this, and this isn't even a possibility. It's just kind of funny to think about. It's like, oh, I could make K for K coin and scam the bot, but it's not going to be an issue. All right, let's go with... Let's switch this back. Oh my, whoops. I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, we got the God Whale calling me out. That was kind of cool. Oh, another thing that's interesting, and I'll pull out of here, is... Here, let me see here. People are talking about, we got to wait for USDC or USD stablecoins to get wrapped and pulled in. For people to trade in value. But really, it's any ERC20. Any wrapped ERC20 that comes in, because we know that has a USD value. Like if you wrap in, say you wrapped in one wrapped Ethereum or something over to the Pulsechain and you wanted to trade it for something, you'd have to make a pool first. There has to be a pool so you can trade that wrapped Ethereum or wrapped whatever ERC20 and trade it for something. That basically gives USD value to everything on the Pulse network. And so how real that USD value is and how much you can actually extract if you wanted to pull it back to real dollars, it depends on how much there is in the chain. So the more liquidity of Ethereum there is in the chain, the more USD the more the USD value of it is actually real. Like if I if I what is it called? If I wrap in $1 of USDC, it's wrapped, I bring it in and I pair it against Pulse or something. Okay, it does give a USD value to like Pulse, but you can only extract $1. That's the max you could extract. So what you can extract from the network in real US dollars is all based on all the ERC20s and all the stable coins. I mean, there are ERC20s. And so that is how the value is created in USD terms until we get like an on-ramp. As soon as you get like a fiat on-ramp, it's like, oh, well, you can just go straight to Pulsechain. But before that, it's just kind of like this weird how much liquidity is in the pools based on this stuff. And so that is why it's super important for this incentive token to have this incentive. Why don't I have my thing up? There we go. Oh, it was open for you guys. Okay. Yeah, so it's very important to have these ERC20, PRC20 pairs paired up because that's just adding more and more USD value to our network. That people, if they want USD over their stuff they have, they can get to it, and then they can sit there. The thing about holding USD is it's not appreciating. Do you want to lock in your USD gains and then watch everything else 10x? It's like, probably not. You're getting in so early on this stuff. So I the people who like extract value and leave immediately are like gonna miss out big time. If you look at any of these other chains that have started up, and they got their dexes going and stuff like that, they've all just done insanely well, multiple tens of X's, hundreds of X's. So you're like, did the people who extracted value like from an airdrop instantly, did they do the best? It's almost never the case unless it's a complete and utter scam and you got out before they like rugged the contract or something. So if it's something that's going to be around a while, like I think Pulsechain will be as the best layer 1, anything built on there is probably going to have some longer value, a horizon that you can see that's going to go through multiple cycles. And so you're going to create these basically bottoms for some of these coins that then you go to new all-time highs, then you get a drop and it's higher than it was before and you get a higher one. And so that's going to happen all over again with Pulsechain and all of its stuff, as long as everything works like it's supposed to. If hopefully it doesn't look like Solana does, I don't think we're gonna have that problem because they use like all new code base and like tried all this new stuff and it's not EVM compatible, so all the tooling is they got to make it all themselves. It has like way less peer-reviewed stuff. It's of course their stuff doesn't work. That's why Solana just got hacked. Like their bridge got hacked for like $250 million. What are you doing? Terrible. That's like not okay. So Richard always goes with the tried and true stuff, iterates a little bit because you can just kind of get a feel for what little parameter can I change, and like all the audits are still intact, but this parameter's changed and now it's just better. So you can do that. And that's what he plans to do. All right, we got Murky says, as you know, Ethereum brings up the price of all ERC20s. It will be interesting to see what Pulsechain does for all of its PRC20s on the same token. Huh. Yeah, that's true. Here's a... Let me see if I hate to get into something I don't have all the math ready at hand for, because I don't have it written on screen, so I don't know if just talking about it is good enough. All right. This one is kind of complicated. But I'll give you a little bit of a teaser to it, I guess. I'll probably do a more in-depth video at some point. But you know how I said there's... let's go back. Let's go back here. Boop. Boop. Boop, boop. Here we go. We're going down. This one. Okay, so you see this number. This is actually more like 1.4 trillion based on the what am I saying? Hello K4K. Based on what's actually in the dexes, and I think that's like an antiquated number, unless they plan to do some crazy stuff with oracles or just massive somehow editing of Aave, Maker, and Compound. I don't know how they're doing those to make those collateralized systems work. They're like one of the biggest places people park their Ethereum. And so there's going to be a lot of pulse in there, but not relative to the total supply. So they like would have to fix that. And it's not like an automated market maker. So good luck figuring that out. I would, it would be cool to talk with I would love to learn that stuff. That's just interesting to me. That's pretty much that's pretty high level right there. Anyway, if we're just going by what's in the like all the dexes, it's 1.4 trillion, which is 10, or it's what if we have 130 or whatever. What percent of it is that? 4 trillion. I guess we'll have to figure that out. 1 second here. And I don't want to do math on stream. Oh well, the important thing to know is, oh, it's more like one. Yeah, it's like half of this, a little bit less. So it's probably like more like 1% of supply. Oh yeah, I already figured it out earlier. It's 1.07%. But anyway, if you look in the pools, it's going to be, if there's 1.4 trillion in the pools and you have a base level price of 1/10,000th of a dollar, what that means is we have $140 million of pulse sitting in pools tied to every coin, because Ethereum was tied to every coin. Because I was going to make a video comparing PulseX potential to Pulsechain potential just based on the liquidity. And I was like, dude, Pulse is going to be tied to everything, and there's going to be huge amounts of its supply in AMMs, meaning you need a lot more oomph to move the price of that. Whereas PulseX, if you look at any of like the DEX tokens, they're not tied to every coin. They have a somewhat, usually they're an incentivized pool because they're inflationary, but PulseX won't even be that way. So really PulseX is only going to be tied to maybe Pulse and maybe a couple stable coins. That's it. And very little at that, because who wants to put their stuff in a pool where it gets constantly bought up and you experience impermanent loss because the price of PulseX has gone up so high, and you're just like, oof, like you sold it, because technically when you're in a liquidity pool, you're selling. If one goes up really high, you're selling that one down to get the cheaper one that didn't go so high. And so if you're doing that with your PulseX, I don't know why you would want to sell it so early unless they incentivize the pool too much and then there's a lot of liquidity there. I hope they don't super incentivize it. But basically, Pulse is going to be tied to every other coin basically in the ecosystem. And all those coins are going to have lots of liquidity, and so that means it's harder to move the price. It's got like $120 million of liquidity there that can be basically bought into, sold into with those free airdropped coins. And so I think it's going to be harder to move Pulsechain's price compared to PulseX based on liquidity alone. You just need more dollars. So unless you have like if one is like 10x more liquidity, not the exact math, but you might need 10x more like buying power to actually move that as much as you can move something else. So let's talk about the I'm reading a question here. I'm a new subscriber, first time viewing your stuff. Sorry if you've made predictions before. What's your thoughts on next plus end of year price? I don't do that. Oh, come on. I think Pulsechain will be similar to how the ETH ICO launch went. Like it'll start at right like 10x. Like we're just gonna 10x off the gate. Because the only people who are selling it, other than that amount that's in the pools immediately are the people who sacrificed, and I doubt they're going to sell it for a loss. So basically, we're setting the floor there, and then there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand from like big funds and stuff like that who couldn't get in during the sacrifice due to like legal reasons. So that's like millions and millions of dollars. And so we're probably going to launch at some like 10x price, probably drop 80%, but then you're still going to be up on your sacrifice if you don't do anything. You don't have to do anything. You just wait, and then if there's anything that goes below 1/10,000th of a dollar, I'm freaking buying it. That's like crazy. Same for Pulse X if it ever drops below whatever the average sacrifice price turns out to be for that. It should be similar. It's not that too different from Pulse. But boy, whew. Oh, here's a cool thing to talk about. So people are they're like, man, I would trade 5 Pulse, or I would trade 5 Pulse X for 1 Pulse. They're like hoping on this like ratio before the bridges come in. You guys realize what that means if you do that. If you were to, even if you like say you did it for 10, you did 10 Pulse X for 1 Pulse. That means if you're believing that if Pulse does like a 10x, or wait, if Pulse X does, yeah, so like if you're trading Pulse X for Pulse, you're thinking if Pulse X does like a 10x, that Pulse would have to do 100x. Like Pulse has to do 100, like you have to multiply how much better the other coin has to do based on the ratio that you exchange it. Like even Ethereum and Bitcoin, like ETH only outperformed Bitcoin by like 3x or something like that over the whole bull run. Because you're comparing crypto to crypto, they usually all go up together in similar amounts, some slightly more. Like Hex did multiple X more than that. But if you've ever seen the comparisons of how many X return could you have gotten in Ethereum versus USD, it's like the max you could have gotten return on your Ethereum was like 1,500, and the best return in USD was 10,000x. And you're like, well, what's that big difference? It's because the dollar really sucks. Ethereum doesn't suck as much. And so that's why you get like less return versus other cryptos, because cryptos actually hold their value really well. And so whenever you're making a trade like that, you can really screw yourself over if you do a bad ratio trade before you figure out the US dollar value. Like I don't think people are gonna be happy if they trade 10 Pulse X for 1 Pulse. That's really betting something's gonna outperform the other by 10 times its returns. That's so ridiculous. Like and especially, I think it's backwards anyway. It's just that more people can understand Pulsechain. They're like, oh, it's a layer 1. Layer 1s always do well. It's like, yeah, DEXs do well too. No DEX has ever been like this before. It's deflationary. And we got potentially huge buy and burn percent. That's the cool thing. And that makes it deflationary, is all that buying and burning. Could be hundreds of millions of dollars of buy and burn into a small liquidity pool, because there's no reason for Pulse X to be tied to everything like Pulse is. So. Alright, so that's a cool thing. Oh, that's the wrong paper. No wonder I wasn't having anything cool to say. Here's a cool thing to clear up for people. Fees in the system, they're not in dollar value, but are in unit amounts. So it doesn't matter what you're trading. If you trade 10,000 units of anything, doesn't have to be, it could be dollars, it could be 10,000 hex, it could be Shiba or whatever. It's the same amount of units gets paid to the LPs. They get paid in the percent of the units. So if you do 10,000 SHIB, the LPs get 29 of, in Uniswap it's a 0.3% fee, so you would get 30. But in ours it's 0.29, and so if you're trading, it's 29 of the units. And then that gets split up amongst that, and basically 7 of that 29 goes to an address that you should have no expectations of, but they may or may not purchase Pulse X with all of those extra fees it's getting, because it's getting a cut of every fee from every coin on the whole platform. And when you add an extra 10,000 new pairs that are ERC20, PRC20, that is just way more potential volume and trading going on. Lots of arbitrage, lots of trading. And one thing I found out, I'm not sure if it's an actual hidden pumpamental, because it works this way also on Ethereum, so it's contributing to their volume as well. But say you have a coin on Pulsechain, and it's paired against Pulse, okay? Because it probably is, because it had an ETH pair ahead of time. So you have that in PulseX. All right, well, when that stable coin gets wrapped over and is in a new pool versus, so we'll say Pulse, because it probably will get paired against Pulse and have a lot of liquidity. When you make a trade to go to that stable coin, you're actually making two swaps. And so you have to pay double transaction fee, or not double, like not a network fee, but Uniswap v2, whenever it routes through those pools, if there's not a direct pair, you have to pay the 0.29 fee once to go from your coin to Pulse, because that's the only thing that you can trade into that can get to the USD stablecoin. And so you have to actually do a second trade. And so it's like, okay, well, that's more possible. That's like more buy and burn, because it's basically everything that gets sold from those free airdrop tokens is a double, unless there's a direct pair. It's like a double transaction fee. So, or trading fee, I should say, not transaction. So that's kind of cool. And one thing to think about is the impact all of this selling of these free airdropped coins does. Because when you sell something, what happens? You're pumping the price of something else, because you're devaluing this thing you sold to get this thing, and now that's worth more. In the ratio world, anyway. Someone else can come in and fix the ratio if they think it's another way. But in general, you're lowering the value of the thing you're selling, increasing the value of the thing that you're buying, and that's why you usually end up with like a little slippage. Anyway, we're not going to get that technical, but man, where was I going with that? Crap. I lost myself there. Okay. Like, you're buying stuff, you're selling it, pushing the price. Oh yeah, okay. So when you're selling all these airdropped coins, what's happening is they're lowering their value to Pulse and pushing up the value of Pulse, because they're basically saying, I don't want this, it's not worth this amount, I'd rather have Pulse instead. And so when you're selling all these coins, you're technically pumping Pulse. And so whenever we have a USD value, we're going to find that basically Pulse is probably going to soak up most of the USD value of the system, just because it's the biggest pair. And so, big players like to play with like the big pairs usually. And so since everything technically is paired against that 1.4 trillion worth of Pulse, or not worth, but that is 1.4 trillion units of Pulse, if you multiply that by the base price of sacrificers, we get 120 million. Well, on the other side of those pairs is another $120 million worth, technically. So when they're selling all that down, they're really increasing the value of this Pulse. And so, but it does matter how much liquidity in USDC and stuff is over on the chain. It gets very, very complicated very fast. But they're technically pumping Pulse in relation to themselves. All of these other tokens, they're devaluing themselves to pump up prices or Pulse's value versus everything else on the chain. And then if Pulse has a high value, that means these other tokens will have like a lower value than what initially started. And yeah, it's hard to do this without writing it all out for you guys. I should do a slideshow at some point. All right. Yeah, ETH at ICO, that was pretty cool. So yeah, the whales probably won't allow people to get any cheaper than initial sacrifice, because that would mean another whale could become bigger than them. They don't want that. They're going to make sure they have to buy up the price. Oh yeah, these whales, they're most likely, like, if you were a whale in the sacrifice phase and you realize, hey, this AMM fixer bot is going to put this other pulse for sale on the open market. What would, I'm trying to think what they would use. I haven't figured this part out yet, so maybe someone will. But basically, it's in those whales' best interest to get as much of that pulse out of the hands of that AMM bot. That's basically, if it just becomes like a non-character and it just sits there as like, it's not locked liquidity, but it's kind of like, I don't know, dumb liquidity or something, because it's just copying what Ethereum is. It's not, it's not being smart about it, really. I mean, it's smart in that it's maintaining those ratios that were thought to be fair by the free market on Ethereum, and it's just copying that. So it's not completely dumb. But it's smart for these whales to purchase up the pulse from these pools if they can. Otherwise, other whales from those communities can basically come in and they can swallow up whatever pulse is in those pools. That's like 10% of the that's like 10% of the user controlled supply. If there's 14 trillion and then there's like this 1.4 trillion in the liquidity pools, that's like 10% of the supply available that a whale could come in and just be like, I don't want someone else possibly getting this part of this extra 10%. And it's just available there to buy. Anyone can buy it. All this stuff held by people, if you don't put it in a liquidity pool, no one can buy it from you. It's like, you want it? What's the price on the DEX? You're not getting it from me. And so they can really push up the price of Pulse by removing it from the supply from this thing. And so they have the money to do that. Even the OA has money to do that. The sacrifice address, like what? It's only 120 million to like quadruple the price, remove half of the Pulse supply like that. Like what? It could easily do that. So, man, I don't think there's going to be that amount of supply of the token. It can't stay out there that long as price increases, because it would just be an immense, huge wall of like dollar value. So basically, it'll be removed over time, just like I have a thing here. Oh, there. Where's it? Boop, bop. Here you go. Check this out. As like the token gets more expensive, it tends to have less and less on the market. I mean, we are also entering a bear market. You may be wondering, well, what's going on here? This was how much Ethereum was in these pools in Uniswap during the Uni token yield farm. Isn't that crazy? It's like way more than we've ever seen and have yet to see again. So people like this yield farming stuff, like big time. People come in, they provide a lot of liquidity, and you end up with more than you had before, even after the liquidity stops. And we don't know when, and they had like a timed thing, like that's why it drops off like a bag of bricks, is because once the rewards stopped, they didn't want to risk the impermanent loss anymore. And the other thing that happened at this time was the price basically like 7 or 8x'd. Oh, I had the page open, didn't I? Let me see if I can find this. So what is this? September 4th, 2020? So the price also went up very high, and so you don't need as much Ethereum, or in this case Pulse, as the price goes up. You don't need as much in the pools, and you also don't want to keep as much, because then you're going to suffer impermanent loss. If you're providing liquidity and the thing you liked a lot went up 7x in price, well, you sold it all to get the other half of the coin to maintain the ratio at which you entered the pool. That's what it cares about. So that's impermanent loss. You would get like wrecked technically. I mean, you would have technically made money, but like you wouldn't have made nearly as much money as you would have if you just held the token. So yeah, here's a no-brainer. Luke Nodder says, hold what you sacrificed for and come back in 2 years. Yep. Pretty much. So let me show you what the price was at September 20th or whatever. 2020. Also, this is what we have to look forward to, boys. Like, this is the initial start. Initial start, little dumpage, doesn't go below other than a wick of what initial people paid. And then it just like 50x's. Legitimately, 50x. That's amazing. If 50x, and this is in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So in like 12 months at 50x, that was Ethereum. From the, I guess you would say, here, let me draw it. The magnet. So that's 50x. Yeah, pretty sweet. And that's in like the first year after it dropped down 86% after, being at a huge premium at the start. And then it found a bottom where people were like, oh no, it's not the world computer. And then it wasn't. All right, and then I'm going to look for... So I think this is what a similar thing for Pulsechain will be, except we have like so much more going for it. I wouldn't be surprised to see, maybe 100x in a year, something like that. Maybe. I think Pulsex does better. So let's go with September. Where are we? September. Yeah, like, is this what? Yeah, so see how we're at like 350, and then it goes to. So during that time where there was tons and tons of liquidity, there was, I think there was a sharp drop. Let me see here. Let me go back here. September. So basically it pumped into that. Interesting. Oh, not that one. Wow. That means these people are super experienced in permanent loss. That's not how you want to do it. These are the right dates. September 20th. What do we got here? Yeah, leading up to that. Right here. Yeah, that means that they got wrecked. If you were providing liquidity with ETH, you would have done better off just holding ETH. Huh. That's sucky. But yeah, if you were smart, you waited for the pump, then you add liquidity, and then you get the Uni token, and then you end before basically the price goes back down. But basically the price kind of stayed the same, I guess. Interesting. All right, let's go here. All right, we got that. Oh, right. Here's a cool thing. We are likely to see, you know how I said we're basically going to have a highly curated whitelist of what the AMM bot actually harvests? Well, on top of that, we're also going to have very, let's see, those incentive tokens are going to be given to, likely, communities that have a very strong fan base, just like Yams did. If you ever heard about Yams back in the day, it was one of the first food coins of where you could yield farm, basically. And so they had like Link, they had, I don't think Sushi was out at the time, but Link, SNX, like all these other top DeFi coins that had blooming communities. Like Link has a huge community. I don't think Shiba was around at the time. At least it wasn't one of the pools. But all of these coins that have big communities, those are the ones that got incentivized. It wasn't just everything got incentivized. So people aren't even going to get the incentive token if they're holding like garbage coin number 1, garbage coin number 2, if they have no community. If it's like a not so great coin, but they have a huge community, we want to encourage those people to come over. So you may see that, like, that's just a good marketing move, you know, to pivot them over here, and then you pivot them into getting into the good stuff. You know, they're like, wow, this chain works great, and I'm also getting all this free stuff, and if they can do that well and there's no hacks over here, then, you know, maybe I'll start buying some of this Pulsechain, maybe some of this Pulse X and X. And so you're going to see probably this starting list of coins that are major, I mean, there may be a blanket farm amount for every coin pair-ish, but still like a whitelist a little bit. But majority of the token will probably go to people who are in a like a Link community or something like that, because they have lots of money and they're active in DeFi. Like if you give it to people who are the people who just chill on a centralized exchange, well, they're never going to interact with the contract, so why would you incentivize a pool that like nobody uses? Because they don't use DeFi. So you want to encourage DeFi users to come over with highly incentivized pools for their token and their community. So that's probably what will go on there. And like this has been a successful formula time and time again. Uniswap did it. It was great. They had like billions of dollars locked really quickly. Sushi did it. Yams did it. BNB did it. Not BNB, but PancakeSwap. It's just a winning formula, and that's going to be amazing. So. What's up, everybody? Like when Sushi Swap, hours after launching, they were all happy when they had $100 million of value locked. They were like, woo, wow, we're crushing it. We're going to have like more than twice that instantaneously, because we have bootstrapped people who already value it at like technically there won't be USD value at the first couple of days. But I assure you, as soon as that comes in, no one is selling their stuff for less than 1/10,000th of a penny. And I showed you guys that tweet earlier where I was like, pretty much 10% of people who probably sacrificed to Pulse said they weren't going to sell. So that's like 10% from a quick poll in 24 hours. They were like, I will never sell it below this amount. And so that's just extra, you know, it's a Twitter poll, but it just shows people are like, no way, why would I sell and lock in a loss on the first day of a project? What? Like, who's doing that? So basically we're locking in that 10,000th of a dollar price, in my opinion, just like Ethereum did. We had a similar launch rate rating system where it was good rate for a few days and then it declined. And then everyone who's in is in, and then more people who want to get in and missed it, they got to buy the price at 10x, and then it drops down but never gets below the initial coin offering people. Even though ours is not an ICO, it's similar. Oh yeah, and technically, if Pulsechain launches at 10x, you know, what the sacrificers paid for, which is probably going to be the case in my opinion, that means we're basically initially going to have $1 billion worth of liquidity locked there. Unless the Pulsechain in those pools gets bought out and then there's less Pulse there, then it technically won't be. But yeah, I guess a lot of it would have to be removed if the price went up a lot. Interesting. Okay, well, maybe not $1 billion right away, but I think we'll have billions of dollars of liquidity in there within a few months. Oh yeah, one thing I'd like to tell people. Like, some people were like, yo man, this AMM bot, like how can we trust this thing? It owns like all this liquidity and that sucks. It's like, the alternative is everyone who owned those liquidity pools on Ethereum, they just come over and they withdraw their liquidity, and then you never see them again. And like, They just sell out and remove their liquidity like immediately. Well, we in the form of their like airdrop token. And so what this does is it also pumps the prices of everything. Like that's super important part of the AMM bot. Pumps the price of everything to fix the ratios because of the supply increase. And then on top of that, it basically secures this liquidity into our chain, as opposed to it being able to just be withdrawn and then you don't see those coins ever again. So since we're able to with like kind of get a bunch of that PRC20 and keep it in and available for trading on the Pulsechain, and take it away from those, not taking it away, we're giving them Pulse in return, but they get like a little bit of Pulse. It's very important to have this liquidity in the blockchain. Like you would, if you do it like what is even the other way? It's like if you, and we're also mixing it all into one pool, and so it's just better order execution and liquidity for everyone for trading. If you wouldn't have had that, you'd have like split liquidity across like SushiSwap, Uniswap, 0x. It would all be separate, and it would be worse execution for all the users. And if the users have a bad experience, they don't go there. If the users don't go there, the liquidity providers leave, and then you never get them all back. So this basically creates an initial liquidity provider for all these tokens that basically wants the best for the network. It won't do something like what are you afraid it's going to dump everything? You could say that about like any coin or anything that has someone who owns a lot. They have the most to lose in the system if they crash it. It's like, so why are they going to do that? So this entity owns a lot of these coins and it has a lot of this pulse, but basically it's just allowing people to get into these coins and get some value from their free airdrop. If you don't have any value for their free airdrop, they're going to be like, no reason to go over there, you know. I got cheap transactions over there. But if you have a free airdrop where people have liquidity that's going to be there that they can trade into with their thing, with their tokens that they got for free, then they actually have a reason to come over and get that value, and then they're hooked, then they're in. Like everyone who's tried the testnet is like, holy crap, it's so fast. And they're using the bridge, and they're like, this is the fastest bridge I've ever used. Like, the tech is amazing. What you need is people to like have to check it out. And how do you do that? You lock in the liquidity, and you have available to purchase Pulse for everybody there. Because otherwise it would be up to everybody else who owns like Pulse right now to create liquidity pools, and nobody wants to sell early, right? The people selling, like if you put your Pulse there and it 10x's, you like get super impermanent loss. So what this thing is doing is it's basically forcing those guys, I mean, I hate to use such strong language, but it's not forcing, it's buying up their supply by the rules of the AMM, and then it's basically locking it in there so that anybody can come in and trade for some cheap-ish Pulse. If you don't have that cheap-ish Pulse available, people are less likely to provide that liquidity at such low prices. Like, do you want to provide liquidity and lose all the gains because of impermanent loss? I don't think you do. And no one wants to come over and trade into something that's super illiquid, and you're like, oh, I lose 10% on this slippage. That's terrible. And so what this bot does is it pulls it all, big liquidity spot. Everyone gets good order execution, like the best they've ever had. And there's actually a good value in the airdrop chilling there. So that's what I have to say about the AMM bot. And people are like all worried about, oh, why is it owned so much? Anyway. Here's an interesting thing. I don't think it's 100% figured out, but check out this statistic. 353 watching. What's up? Yo, everyone hanging out. Thanks for coming by. This is awesome. I'm not done yet, but I really appreciate everybody coming out and watching the video. I just had a lot to go over. Like, I have pages and pages and pages of notes I've been taking, figuring stuff out, stuff I've been working on with other people, and I want to share this stuff, but I don't want to share super premature stuff. So I try to think it at least 99% of the way through before I give it to you guys. So yeah, feel free to hit the like. That really helps get the algorithm going, and then people can see this. Oh man, get out of here. And then we get more people interested in it. Because, like, I mean, even if you think of it from a selfish point of view, if you get these people, if you get more views to people making content about the stuff that you're invested in, well, guess when they figure out about the coin? It's after, like, the video's been posted and all that. So it's in the future. And you know about it before them. So you should have gotten in at a better price, right? Like, if you got in today into the Pulse sacrifice, you're getting a better rate than someone who finds about it in a week, in a month. And so the better we make this content and the better we get our message out there, the more people that find out about it. And yes, they have to buy higher, but it's like, if you're getting something that outperforms everything else, like if you bought ETH at $3 because it was 10x at the start, were you sad because you didn't get 31 cents? I guess you'd be a little sad. But it's like, if you just hold this amazing asset, you just outperform everything else. So you're helping other people in a way preserve their wealth that they've created. And that's why I really like doing all this crypto stuff, is it allows people who have, everyone who has some amount of wealth that they've earned. You've done some work, you've painted a house, you mowed someone's lawn, you're a consultant, you help people with this, you work daycare, you do all these different jobs. I think those people who earn that money should be able to preserve that buying power for themselves and keep their wealth. Crypto allows you to do that like no other. Sometimes even increase your wealth. It's like increase your buying power. That's like the optimal thing. And so crypto allows that. The fiat dollar diminishes in value every day. And I think telling more people about crypto is a noble thing to do, and it helps the world basically fight. It's like a crazy outlandish claim, but basically fight totalitarianism. So so I'm super excited about encouraging people to learn more about this stuff. And you don't have to know all this high level, oh, what's the supply gonna do and compared to the market cap, and what's the price gonna. It's like the basic principle, guys. This stuff preserves your wealth, not financial advice, and preserves your buying power into the future better than anything else has been shown to do ever in human history. So it's kind of an easy sell, but a lot of people they get caught up on the security and the fear of, is this safe? And that's understandable because it is new technology, and this stuff is volatile. They're like, oh, it's down, even Ethereum at the start, it was oh, it went down 86%. But it's like bad framing error. It's like, yeah, but how much did it go up first? It's like, do you want something that stays the same value, or do you want something that goes up 10x, then drops 86, and you're up even higher than where you were? I'd rather take the volatility. It's to the upside. And so you just kind of have to throw in that perspective to people, yeah, it goes down sometimes, but only after it's gone up immensely, and you're always up after a certain amount of time in the market. So it's hard to hold on to these gains sometimes. People were selling millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of hex early on. If they held that, you'd have hundreds of millions of dollars. Some people, that's crazy. Imagine. Hundreds of millions of dollars. But instead they traded it for I don't know what it was at the time, probably hundreds, thousands of dollars only. All right, what are we talking about here? Oh, yeah, I just want to thank everybody for showing up. Very awesome. I think now I can get to some questions. I think I went over most of what I wanted to share. I wish I wish the stuff I wrote on paper I could just show on screen, and it would be like way faster than me having to re-implement everything into a digital format. That's always a big pain. But yeah. And I'll definitely have it's not my video, but Mega Megan Mindset on YouTube. She's like I don't know if she's a Hex YouTuber but she is very interested in learning about the stuff. And that's like the best thing you can do is learn about crypto financially anyway for your life. It just beats the crap out of everything else immensely. You just look at the chart. And most people in normal life, they're like, what's a chart? I don't look at charts. It's just a comparison of how did this do to this thing. Just look at it and you're like, oh, it just seems to keep doing that. And it's doing it very quickly. And this is doing it better and faster over time. It's not impossible to outperform a layer 1 deck, not DEX, a layer 1. Hex has technically already outperformed Ethereum. If you combine the staking aspect with the all-time high of Hex, if it did 10,000x, it did 20,000x if you staked that whole time, I believe. And Ethereum all-time high or all-time return is 16,000x. So something built on a layer 1 has already outperformed the layer 1. And people are like, Pulsex can't do it. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, Pulse won't do well. It's like, I just think Pulsex has like the setup. It has immense buy pressure, extra added. It's amazing. So, like, how are you supposed to compete? Like, imagine being in the stock market and only one stock gets 1% of every other traded stock at like all those fees that are added up, but all those fees only ever get funneled to one stock, and everybody else has to just compete with normal market conditions. But this one stock just gets all these fees on top every day, and you're just like, how can we compete with that guy? You can't. How do we beat him? You can't beat him. It's so good. I mean, I'm holding, like, I'm not just going to like sell everything and buy only Pulsex, guys. I think anything in this Richard ecosystem has been thoroughly thought out and is being developed with like super precision to be not only secure but perform extremely well and better than anything else that's ever existed. That's literally what Richard's been telling us. It's what he did with Hex. And I don't see it going any other way. Like, this guy, like, if you had to put your money with a team, do you put it with the team they just change their narratives every once in a while? They're like, you know what, it's about the fundamentals, they don't talk about the price, and the price doesn't do so hot. Or do you want to go with the team who's like, yeah, our goal is to create the best performing assets in history. That's what we want to do. That's what I don't know about you guys, but I like when the number goes up, and if there's a team that's what they care about, that's the team I'm putting my money with. You guys can do what you want. That's what I'm doing. So like all of their coins they're working on are likely to outperform things that you've seen in the past. Just saying. Lots of it's by design, and clever game mechanics. And the community. You got to think about that. Like, this community, there's new people that show up like every other day, and they just have all this value to add to the community. They're like, yeah, I do this, I do SEO, and I make YouTube videos, or I know the NASCAR people. Let's set this up. Oh, now we have a NASCAR race car funded by the community. What? There's like 10 million people that watch that. Funded by the community. It's not like a Bitcoin exchange or something is like putting Bitcoin on a car. It's like, oh, who cares? Like, they just want to get you wrecked margin trading. This is a community where we prolong gratification. Not prolong. That'd be nice. Delay gratification. And we just preserve our wealth. And it just so happens that everyone else who joins the system likes to do that as well. And that just happens to actually move up our buying pressure or buying power along with preserving our buying power. It's like a since it's so early, you're actually able to get rich as opposed to just maintain your buy power. You can get rich in like tenfold. It's like it's because we're so early. You know, if everyone in the world already had it, then it's like, okay, you get to preserve your stuff. But since we're so early, it's like, okay, we can actually make multiple X gains in this stuff. And that's just how it is. We're so early. It's like playing life on cheats on. You're like, oh yeah, you just get this internet money and it's better. And now that we know that it exists and we hold it, we get to preserve our wealth and not be stolen from by the central banking system. Huh. A lot of people still don't have this figured out, or they just got burned one time by like a scam and they're missing out. But these cryptos and this founder cares about humans in general. He knows what's important. If you read his book, Survive, you learn a lot about what this guy's about. And he cares about improving the lives of other people, because life's better when you help those around you. And so I'm really excited for the future. I'm going to the Las Vegas conference, so I don't know if I'm talking there. I filled out a thing and it said like I would. So that'll be fun. I think there's like over 1,000 people going, so that should be fun. I would love to meet other people there who happen to show up in Las Vegas for the conference, and I'll probably be going to the Pulsechain conference. I think that's in September. That'll be super fun. Let me get to some questions that were asked in my chat here. I don't want to show stuff on this screen. Let's go to this one. All right, good. We're not hiding anything. Let's see. Some of these questions don't even make sense. I don't know what they mean. All right. Is it possible to exchange Hex for Pulse before the bridges? That is Hex for Pulse before the bridges. I think that's the question. I'm streaming for a bit now. Yeah, you can't get... I mean, technically, you can sacrifice the Pulsechain and get, like, 0.01 Pulse or something, but it's like a terrible deal. Don't even... Just forget I said that. You can't trade for Pulse until... Oh, wait. Oh, before bridges. Wait. Super cutback. Okay. So I'm guessing he means after launch, but before bridges. Okay. So... Yeah, you can. You can trade your copied over Hex, not your eHex. You can only trade your copied over Hex for Pulse before the bridges, because eHex would have to be wrapped in on a bridge, and then trade it for Pulse, and then have to be a liquidity pool, that involves eHex. You can't trade it otherwise. So, and it's probably going to be, I'm not sure if people will make specific bridged in. I just thought of this now. If people will have to make specific bridged in coin versus Pulse pools, if those will be incentivized, or if we'll mostly just stick to incentivizing PRC20, ERC20 pools, and that's how people, they route through that pool. But I feel like people would be. I mean, anyone can create that pool, and people will find value in that. Maybe it even isn't incentivized. Is like a. Oh wait, there's already a Pulse. Oh no, I was saying wrapped. Yeah, a wrapped one. That one doesn't exist. Yeah, but there will be a. It's really confusing because the terminology is like Hex, is what we're gonna call it on Pulsechain, but we've been calling Hex on Ethereum Hex for so long. But yeah, I hope I didn't lose everybody there. But you can trade Pulse Hex for Pulse before the bridge. You can do that. I haven't done the math or anything on what's probably a good ratio, but I definitely think for Pulse and Pulse X ratios, dude, even a 2 to 1 ratio is a bad deal, in my opinion. Either way. I mean, I would honestly probably, yeah, it's a bad deal, actually. Either way, yeah, don't do that, in my opinion. Not financial advice. Now this guy says, Pulsechain, participating in validator staking. Some validators are sharing a nice percentage. Can you touch on this? Yeah, validators can choose what percent of the fees they share with everyone who delegates to them. So they can be like, I keep 50% of the fees, and the rest of the 50% are shared by all the delegatees. And so this creates like this almost not bidding war, but it's like it's a war for who's giving the most value to the delegators and who needs the delegators the most. You know, because if you have enough Pulse on your own, you don't need any any delegated to you. And so you can just keep all of the basically profit for yourself without any delegation. But if say you're on the brink of like, oh crap, I kind of need more delegators, or I won't even be a validator, and then all this like setup is wasted, then you might have to offer more of the fee to users to delegate to you because they'll see a higher APY, and then they'll delegate to you because they get more. So it's kind of like that's like its whole other game. I mean, really, people like if you're a user, which 99.999% of people are just normal users, not the validator. You're just going to look, okay, which one of these 30... Wait, how many validators we got? 33? Yeah. So, I think it's 33. We're going to look and you go, oh, it'll probably have calculated APY on like the price of Pulse versus how much you're getting on average, but you know, it's going to be fluctuating based on usage of the network. So, whatever. But they should all be the same, relatively. So you would just, you're going to look and you're going to be like, okay, this one says... this is pulled out of my butt. I don't know what the APYs are going to be. I'm just going to say, as an example, oh, this one would give 50% APY. This one is 100%. Which one are you going to pick? Or you can pick 80%, you know, whatever they got. Maybe it's only 10%. I don't know what they are. But you're going to choose, and so that's how a lot of delegation is going to be. Then once more people delegate to that person, it kind of lowers the APY of everyone because you have to split it amongst all the delegators. And so one guy won't always be the biggest all the time from delegation because you dilute everyone as you have more people delegated to you. So it's kind of a cool system. This guy says, dude, I'd love to see you and Crypto Coffee talk Pulse X, pros and cons, since you each have unique point of views on the coin. I would love to talk to... Have we talked in DMs? I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but I'll just say it anyway. I think Gerardo and I might have a stream coming up here soon. That'll be fun for everybody. I think Gerardo makes amazing charts. Yeah, let's get a look into hex.com. That's where we're going. 1 second. Look into hex.com. Look at this. Oh, what are we looking at? Oh, this is new. What am I looking at? What is this? Did we hack his server? We're in the secret unknown. Look at this. Looks like... Whoa, it's moving weird. Okay, this isn't the chart I was looking for. How do I go back? Hex first BTC. Oh, there we go. There we go. Zoom in here. Oh, the pink line, that's Hex. ROI from launch. So we're not even talking about the bottom. We are still crushing Bitcoin and Ethereum at the moment. He updated his site, bro. Yeah. Yeah, I think he's trying to make it... I don't know if it was like causing crashes or slow down or something from the way he was originally doing it, but he's like updating the back-end code base for stuff. So that's what I heard. He's like paying a guy to do it. What a beast. This is an amazing resource. I show people this if they somewhat know anything about crypto or like Bitcoin. They're like, yeah, Bitcoin. And then I tell them it went up 6.9 million X. That usually they're like, what? And then you're like, yeah, well, you thought that was crazy. We're doing better. faster, sooner. So, woof. Oh, you know what's crazy? Here's something to. I'm not trying to say Hex can't do it, but if you think about it, for Hex to do a 10,000x from already doing 10,000x, so say we get to 56 cents again, we're at 10,000x from the bottom. For it to do a 10,000x from there would mean from the bottom, it's done like 100 million x. So it would have to do more than Bitcoin's ever done. But I mean, that's measuring from the bottom as opposed to like launch, which is much more accurate, I guess. Because, you know, technically someone could make the 100 million x, but who's holding from super no penny to that without selling anything? Probably nobody. But launch, a lot more people got in around there, you know, and less people hold over time. They just can't hold the gains. You're just like, dude, I've made so much money, I have to do something with this. And that's when people sell a little bit. Like, no one goes, oh, I've made 100 million, I'm going to sell it all because I've made 100 million. Like, what? No one does that. You pull out what you need to, like, work on maybe projects or help people build services. I guess you can use it for leisure only too, I guess, but nobody really needs $100 million. And no one wants to hold, like, what would you rather hold, $100 million worth of Hex or $100 million? I think I'd rather have the Hex that can appreciate way faster than the dollar. Like, the dollar is just depreciating to garbage. Like, it's going to nothing. So maybe in like 20 years, the dollar, like $100 million is not that much, you know? So, yeah. You want to preserve your buying power for sure. Dude, this ring light is burning my eye sockets out. I'm doomed. And what? Oh yeah, I was reading questions. Let me go back. Actually, let's read some questions in chat. Not financial advice. Never. We never do that. Can you imagine giving financial advice in this day and age? I think Hex will get in all in Bitcoin's face, and our code is better. And I have been, you know, a lot of people ask me about certain coins that are not Richard Hart projects, and I've been kind of, you know, been hard on them, and I don't really talk about them. But, you know, the guys that are behind some of these projects, they do have good intentions. I know that doesn't mean that's everything. It's not like, oh, this guy has good intentions, put all my money in it and tell everybody about it. Like, I want to see, usually, I don't know if there's danger in talking about them out in the open, like that exposes people to it. And if it ends up being bad, then if I never exposed people to it, then they would have been saved, right? So I feel confident in talking about Richard Hart projects because he's proven he made a coin, 2 years uptime, flawless, 10,000x. That's like if at some point in the future he rugs or something, I don't think he ever will. Like, why would he do that? But at least I was going off of, okay, this guy has delivered in the past, like, can deliver, and he's a good guy. These other projects, they're more like, we are good guys, but we haven't delivered before. So I know a lot of people were like, oh, just talk to us about it. I don't know if I would feel okay if somebody got wrecked, but I probably should talk about him at some point. You know, I'm being purposefully cryptic and not saying the name of the project, but oh yeah, this invisible water bottle or see-through water bottle, very, very expensive. You know, I've never seen anyone else ever have one. Very rare. Okay, I'm looking for Pluto-like projects. Let me see if I have. Read this. Okay. I'm reading off of the Twitter. Oh wait, I should do the YouTube ones. Where is it? Because I had some people reply to my YouTube one. Can you please do a walkthrough of what we should be taking into consideration before entering a yield farming pool? Also, once in one, what should we be looking at as a potential reason to add more or remove what we have? There's going to be a lot of us on Pulsechain that have never yield farmed before. So if we could get a mini breakdown, oh, that's a great question, on what it would be infinitely appreciated by the masses. Thank you and blessings. Prayer emoji. That's a good question. Now there's a lot that goes into deciding if you're going to liquidity farm or not. Now, you got to ask yourself, because it is like it's a lot of like, especially if you have no idea how to add liquidity and stuff. So I don't know if I'm gonna go over like how to do it on top of strategy, but it's hard to go wrong with providing a small amount of liquidity into some of these pairs that have very low amounts of value in them, because it's based on like your percent of the pool. So if there's nobody in it, say there's like some pair of coins that no one really owns, but it gets some value in the incentive token. If you're the only guy and you put $1 in of liquidity, you get every block, you're going to get that extra incentive token reward, regardless of how much liquidity you put in. Now, if someone comes in and they put in $100 and you only put in $1 worth, well, now they get 99% of the reward and you get 1%. And that's just how it goes. Like, it's based on your percent of the total pool. That's how much you get of the liquidity, of the reward token, and fees for that matter. So, yeah, what up, Pay Me Hacks? How you doing? Thanks for being a member. So, the walkthrough would be, man, do I want to do it on, let me see. I guess I'll show kind of what it might look like. 1 sec here. I'm just gonna hide this for now while I check and make sure nothing crazy pops up. Deet. Where is it? Am I connected? Okay, I am connected. Let's see here. It's like lagging or something. Okay, I think this is how you do it. Enable. Yep. Okay, here we go. Dude, you guys can't be talking about barbecue chicken. I am starving. You will be banned. Okay. Oh yeah, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Really helps out. I'm going to show you guys how to provide liquidity, I think. I mean, it's going to be with no values in it, but it'll show you like what it kind of might look like. I guess I could do it with Uniswap instead of Pancake. It might be easier to understand. Let's do that. Dancing in the dark. Okay. Yeah, Funding Jim's the man. Okay, we're gonna show this screen. I'm trying to get it to show everything. Okay. Alright, so this is like Uniswap. And so imagine this is Pulsex. So imagine this is Pulse. And then imagine you wanted to do Pulse and, I don't know, USDC. Oh, well, first you gotta connect your wallet. Click that. Boom. Click MetaMask. Wrong network. Get wrecked. 1 second. I don't want anything crazy to pop up. Let me make sure it looks right. I'm gonna hide that. Gotta zoom out. Wrong network. Now I have to manually change it. You know what? PancakeSwap, I was just on it and it prompted me and I clicked one button and it switched the network to Binance Smart Chain. But on Uniswap on Ethereum, it doesn't have that functionality. See, it's like these little things that projects can do and you can implement to make it easier on users. And that's like the type of stuff I think the PulseX guys are going to do. So it should be nice and easy. All right, we're connected. Let's put it back on. All right. So you see this in the upper left, you can swap. So this is just when you trade. So if you wanted to add liquidity, all you do is you connect your wallet up here. It'll say like connect wallet. You log into your MetaMask. It's got your coins. Then you just go to pool and your new position. Oh, this is gonna be more complicated because it's Uniswap v3. All right, let me go to the Uniswap v2 interface. 1 second. Gosh darn it. Because we won't have that extra functionality that Uniswap v3 has. Uniswap.info. Incentive token, your thought. We need more information on it, but just like every other incentive token that's come out, it's literally free yield on top. So if you're a liquidity provider, you can get like all this extra free money. And you can also provide liquidity. Usually a very highly incentivized pool is a pool that includes the incentive token. And so if people want to get into that pool, guess what you have to do? You have to buy the incentive token in order to be in that highly incentivized pool, even though it is with itself. It diminishes over time how much is put out, and that itself makes it more rare over time, just like Bitcoin gets more rare over time. Even though Bitcoin technically has an upper limit, we haven't made it to that limit yet. You know, it's hypothetical. You're just like, oh, will they only have 21 million? So this is the same thing. It just diminishes over time, just like there's a Bitcoin halvening and there's less inflation. This will have a similar structure to that. So I definitely don't think it's going to be anywhere in PulseX's league or Hexes or Pulsechain. So it's more like if you like to liquidity farm, which a lot of people do. So even if that's not you, it doesn't mean it's not valuable and it's not going to pull in people. It will. So I don't recommend people do it. Also, we don't have enough information on it. Like if it's like crazy and he comes out with like, oh, it's actually deflationary and it gets all these extra perks, like then it's like, okay, well that changes the game and now we can talk about it. But like there's just like so little to talk about it right now other than it's like other ones have been and they have done well. So do you think tokens on Pulsechain can appreciate to a level where the market cap is higher than the current GDP? Yeah, market cap doesn't matter. What up, T-Bird? What is the current GDP? I'm curious. Current GDP of USA. 20 trillion, like almost 21 trillion. I thought it was less. Wow. So it's 20 trillion, and then what's the, let's see, global, what is it, reserve debt? that clock. Is it the clock? Doing research live. Bought Hex today for the first time. Sam Castro. Boom. Future millionaire. Alright, so that's that's 30 million. Huh. Or trillion. What am I saying? Million. That's crazy. I thought there was like, that's not annual GDP, is it? Is there like an annual? Let me see. I'm probably making myself sound funny. Annual GDP. Oh, that is it. Okay. I thought it was like way less than that. Oh, I don't really pay attention to that, I guess. Alright, we're closing that. We're going to V2 Uniswap. We're going to show how to provide liquidity. What it may look like. Alright, let's see. This looks fine. Okay. Yosri, or is it Yosari, says, lol, no one will swap at 10-to-1 ratio. I will never swap Pulsex, even at a 1-to-1 ratio. Yeah, well, you'd be surprised the people who, early on, maybe they're changing their tune now, but a lot of people were like, man, I'm trading for Pulse. Like, they don't really care what the ratio was. They were like, I'll do it for 5-to-1, 3-to-1. And some people who don't like if they have that idea and they never see any new information, they're probably still going to do that, and they're going to just be very sad after they realize their mistake. So I'm trying to get this information out there so people don't wreck themselves when you're already holding something amazing. Like it's kind of sometimes it's like too easy. It's like, no, I can't just hold it. I must have to trade it and do something with it. It's like, nope. No trader did a 6.9 million X, but a holder in Bitcoin did, Let me see here. I guess I'll reveal this page. Okay, we're zooming in. So this is like the analytics site. So if we go to pairs, so say you wanted to provide liquidity for this, for USDC, we'll say it was Pulse or something. On that, add liquidity. You just have like a button. Boom. Add liquidity. Yeah, liquidity. We receive pool tokens representing a position. These tokens automatically they're proportional. Okay. So whenever you go to put in $100, it's gonna immediately be like, all right, then you need this much Ethereum. This is equal to $100. Or if you do like 1 Ethereum, it's gonna be basically the Ethereum price. And that means you're putting in basically $6,000, because you're not just putting in 29,888, and then they give you a free ETH. Although, in our system, you do get the other half for free. You come in with your, but it's a little misleading. It's not like you can put them in 1-to-1 ratio, because actually, wait a minute. Because this is calculating it. Well, based on its own pair. I don't know if I'm just tired or something, but interesting. I mean, cause how's this? Yeah, U.S. value. I won't come up with any new things right now, because I don't want it to be like, oh, what were you saying there? So basically, you're putting in one side and then you have to equal it on the other side. So if you're like, well, I only have $3,000, then you just go 1,500. Then it'll automatically know how much is $1,500 on the other side. And then you just hit, this will say supply liquidity. It'll tell you what your share of the pool will be compared to everybody else up in there. And then you're in the liquidity pool at those prices. And so you get paid on like for every trade in that pool that goes through it, you get that percent of the fee. So you get like this little percent of a fee. I mean, that's because this is a huge pool and I only put in like 3K. That's like nothing to multiple millions of dollars. But early on, you can actually get significant fees and the payout and the incentive token because, hey, guess what? Most people don't know about this stuff. So if you're even in like the first few weeks or something, you can get like outsized amounts of this stuff and all this early trading and stuff. You can get some outsized amount of that incentive token because as soon as more money comes in, you get diluted, and then it's like, maybe this isn't worth it anymore. But it's a good way to bring in new liquidity because they're like, oh, free token, and I got this other side for free, and I can just put it in this pool and get more stuff for free. So, yeah, that's how you provide liquidity. It's really easy. You just click pool, and then you choose the things. I think you can just create your own pool if it doesn't exist yet. More create pool, boom. V2 liquidity, learn, migrate. Yeah, you just click create pool and you can put in like a contract address if it doesn't show up in the catalog, and you can make your own pool if it doesn't exist yet. Most likely, if you're asking this question, you're not going to be making your own pool. That's not going to happen. You can only have one pool in Uniswap v2 of like the same pairs. Like if there's a USDC Pulse pool, you can't go, I'm going to make my own USDC Pulse pool. It won't let you. It's like, oh, here, yep, here's the other pool. This is what you meant, right? And so you have to add to that liquidity because like that would be so stupid if you just have like people splitting it up, making people trade through like 10 different ones of the same fee rate just because you didn't want to be a part of that pool. It doesn't make any sense. So they force everyone to use the same pair if it exists already. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's all you got to do. And then you can, it depends how good the tooling is over on PulseX, if they'll be able to show you like, you can, usually there'll be like a breakdown of what your fees are per day and stuff like that. You can watch all that, but I don't think, I hate to be like going against what, Richard tells people that this stuff is great, and a lot of people do it, but it's not for everyone. It's something you literally have to manage a lot. Like you don't go, I'm a liquidity provider, see you never again. Like maybe you could do that, but you might not do as well as just holding one coin. It's not like a guaranteed win. It's not risk free. Just because you get some stuff of it for free doesn't mean it's risk free. I won't tell you how long to stake for. That's up to you. I would choose something that you'll stick to. Like if you need it within less than a year, well then don't make it more than a year. Because then you'll have to cancel it. Dude, my hair is so high today. What's going on here? What's going on? Yeah, don't make it more high than don't make it higher than my hair. Yeah, you don't want to have to break your promise to the network and end early and then take penalties. So if you think you'll need it sooner, then do it a little bit earlier than that, or just try to be better with delaying gratification and find another way to get money so that you don't have to disturb your stakes. Dropped in on LP. Love you spreading knowledge, K4K. Not for the weak. Yeah, I'm like this stuff. If like my grandma or my parents or people, my friends that don't know anything about crypto, not saying that my parents actually know quite a bit about crypto. Smarty pantses, they are. This stuff is like totally. It's like, dude, what do you? I would never tell them this stuff. They would just, their eyes would gloss over and be like, what? And then how do you like it's hard enough to get some people to buy something and do nothing with it. You want to tell them how to make a liquidity position and like watch over it? Screw that. This is just, I don't know who this is for, honestly, because I guess if some people want to level up their knowledge so that they can make the best decision for themselves, and if this is just your first time hearing about it, you could become an expert in it, and this is just the beginning of your journey. and now you know how to provide liquidity and stuff. But I mean, you could figure this out with a Google search. It's like how to provide liquidity. Oh, they have multiple docs on it. So like, this stuff isn't necessary for everybody to know. I'm probably gonna make a video on how to do it when it's closer to launch and once testnet has the AMM set up. So then people will like know, and I'll have like test values to do it with, and you can like see how it did over a few days or something, you know. But yeah, it's not for everybody. You don't have, not everybody has to know how to do liquidity farming. It's just good that we have that, because that is going to pull a lot of people over to provide value to our PRC20s. And all the people who are able to provide the value to back up the coins in PRC20 land and Pulsechain are the people who got the stuff for free in the first place. So you're incentivized to back the value of the stuff only you got for free. So it's really genius. Like, who thinks of that? You know, like, Richard Hart does it. Done it again. Breaking crypto. So, very excited. Let me see here. Alright. Alright, so let me check over here. I'm going to read some more questions. Oh, here's an interesting one, actually. Based on anticipated daily trading volume of PulseX exchange, at what stage do you feel like the burning of PulseX tokens begins to have a significant impact on price pressure? And at what stage does the burn effect begin to significantly diminish based on token price? So this is an interesting one that I did research on. If you... Let me go here. That'd be something cooler to look at. Right here. Let's go here. Let's go over here, actually. Aave. Interesting. So, yeah, if you... Man, what was that question? I have all my stuff on like separate tabs. Can't freaking read it. Okay. Oh, like how does the buy and burn affect the supply and stuff? Okay. So as the price of PulseX goes up, there should be less of it in the exchange, basically, because you don't need as much. It depends if the liquidity increases at the like exact same rate as you're increasing the price, which is not super likely. But basically, as long as the price is increasing at a faster rate than liquidity is increasing, there's going to be less and less available to be bought up by this market buy. Like it will move the price up, not the same amount. It's a little. So like in the beginning, imagine. Oh, thank you, Thomas Turner. Future knowledge spread by K for K. Sweet. Thank you so much, Thomas. $50 is a lot. I really appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the channel. You're the best. Thank you so much, man. Now, I was very close to describing something. Okay, so you know how back in the day, you would be trading around, like people would trade hundreds and thousands of Ethereum back in the day, like it was nothing. They were like, oh, it's 31 cents, it's $1, you know, 3,100 of these, I'll send these over here. That's just like, you're like, oh, it's $1 each, so that's like $3,000. You're just sending these around, Scooby snacks. You're just trading them all around. Well, imagine if you were getting trading fees in the units of that when it is so gosh darn cheap. It's actually pretty crazy, because if you're getting, say you need, man, oh, if I had a perfect 10,000 example. I'm doing this on the fly, so say you have 10,000 Ethereum back in the day, because it's $1 each, you got $10,000 worth. If you were trading that, if AMM dexes were around at the time, if you traded that on Pulsechain, 29 of that Ethereum, of the 10,000, even though it's worth $1, because it's just worth $1. So we're kind of like mixing these time zones here to if dexes existed back then. This is very important to understand. 29 of that Ethereum would be a liquidity provider fee. Okay? Of part of that trade, whatever you traded for, whatever you sold your Ethereum for, 29 of it is given to the liquidity providers. Now, 22 of that 29 actually goes to the liquidity providers. 7 of it, of the 29, goes to that address that we will have no expectations of, but if it were possible, they would buy and burn with 6 of that. Now, what's more impressive? Selling 6 Ethereum at $6 for $6 of buy pressure, or if we take it to the extreme, if you waited 6 years, now 6 Ethereum is worth like, what is that? 6. Let me see here. Gosh darn it, should have done a better example. Here we go. 3,000 times, what do we got? We have 6 Ethereum. So over time, that $6 could become $18,000 buy pressure. Now imagine that scaled up to like billions of dollars. Because you can hold this address, it's not automatic. So it can be conservative with its purchases early to build up bigger buy pressure later. Because crypto tends to go up in value, and if we store up all of these crazy amounts early because of the low value of some of these cryptos, in like a year or 2 years, this stuff can be like mega millions amounts, because this is just from one trade. One trade. You know how many trades happen in a day? So imagine if you had like, wow, like, oh my gosh. I wish I did the math before stream so I could really break it down, because it's kind of cool. For the potential ridiculous amount of more buy pressure you could have. So, man, like how many more? That's 18,000x. Is that what that is? Oh no, because it was $6, so it's 3,000x. I just did it right there. Yeah, 3,000 times the amount of so what is it? Of the fee we got at the time. We won't go into the specifics because freaking math brain, and I'm very hungry. But basically, if this money can be stored up, and you can have actually more buy pressure than what you initially had, because it is an automatic, so it can actually hold it and have more buy pressure later. So that's pretty cool. It's very similar to how in the early days of Hex, you would trade millions of it around, and it was like $100 each. But nowadays, if you moved a million around, that's like, oh my gosh, this guy sold 1 million Hex, and it like impacts the market significantly. Well, people were doing that like it was nothing not yesterday, years ago. And so if you can gather up this very large amount of these fees in these tokens, because it's based off of the token amount, not the dollar value, early on, you can actually get like a huge store of these other tokens. And even, all those trades of wrapped in ERC20, those coins also will be sent in fee form to this address. So we're actually going to be selling down Ethereum coins to buy up PulseX. Like, what? We're basically selling off all of these other coins in the world to funnel into only one coin, or if the entity wants to, they can put it into all of the top 5 coins that Richard Hart likes. It would be my guess. So that is pretty cool. That's how we're going to dominate crypto, is we're siphoning the value of everything else, and we put it into only these 5. That's how I see it. Very exciting stuff. And thank you so much again, Thomas Turner. $50, very appreciated. I very, very much appreciate that. Makes me feel like I'm doing something right. Yeah, dude, that Daytona 500, I wish I could go see that. As I've never ever been to like I've never really, my dad watches NASCAR. I've like seen some laps happening. I don't even know if I've ever watched a whole race. It's not, really my thing. But now that there's a Hex car, I'm like, dude, NASCAR for the win. Let's go. Like I'm excited to see how our car performs. So how sweet is that? Like, is that how people become fans of other stuff? They have money invested in it. So that's super awesome. That's gonna be really cool. We have exhausted our stuff. So it looks like I'll go through a couple more questions from my YouTube one, I believe. Actually, we're going to go through the Twitter ones. Thomas Turner, wow, what are you doing? These aren't real dollars, are they? He says stream on with facts. You want more stream? You guys want more stream? Oh man, whoa, man, I almost want to, I feel like I gotta muster up something. Whew, man. Because there is some information I know that others should not know. It's like there's some stuff that is good marketing, and good for a lot of people to know, and then there's some stuff that's like probably best if some potential bad actors don't know this information. So I don't want to blow it up. But man, I wish I could tell you. I really appreciate that. $100. This guy must be an early Hex investor or Pulsechain, and he's like counting his chickens, before they hatch. But dude, I don't see how anything else can outperform Pulsechain. Even Hex doesn't have automatic buying. I mean, even Pulsechain doesn't have automatic buying. But if that address does do what was originally intended for that amount, you've seen the math. Like we're adding this huge buyer to the system that just freaking crushes it. He just buys every day. It's like a Michael Saylor comes in and is like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy every day. I don't care what the price is. What? That's like half of the trade. Like the most important thing in investing is, will I be able to sell this for money later? Well, what's the best way to guarantee you have that? Have something that buys on a regular basis or is willing to buy on a constant basis. You need a buyer. It's like the other half of the whole ordeal. If you have something that goes up in value, but then nobody's there to buy it, you actually have like no value. You can't get anything for it. So, like Hex is really cool because it's like the inverse of PulseX, I like to think of it. You have people push out their potential selling into the future and you reward them, and that's how you get people to actually do that behavior. So you're like, hey, you're gonna hold this anyway, so why not make interest? And people are like, yeah, that's true, I'm gonna hold this anyway. Oh, there's no counterparty, it's just me in the contract? Double thumbs up. And so you're getting this interest trustlessly, and you're pushing out your gains or whatever. Now, what that does, I mean, we say that we dampen volatility, but as we've seen, a lot of these people have like dumped large positions after their stake ends, and so it creates a big volatile spike. So, I mean, that sounds volatile to me. But maybe the argument is that it would be more volatile if they could sell along the way or something. I don't know. We don't live in that world. It's hard to gauge that one. But with Pulse X, what we're doing is people have this constant appreciation and they have full access to their funds. Unless the DAO forces you to lock your Pulse X to vote, and get vote power, which would be really cool. Like, imagine if you had to lock up your Pulsex for 4 years. Imagine a deflationary currency that gets bought up and is locked for 4 years. That would be amazing. Like, what? That coin has to ridiculously go up. Ridiculous. Even if it doesn't have to get locked up, people are gonna sell the stuff way too early, in my opinion. Like, who is selling day one? Who? 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 Like, I cannot imagine selling this stuff day one. Like, you'd have to, like, literally have me at gunpoint and be like, sell it or you're dead. I'd be like, no, like, no, don't make me do it. Like, come on. I probably do need mods. Hey, since you said that, you're a mod. How do I do this? Add moderator. Boom. Please don't, like, scam me or something. All right. Modded. Okay. Benny Blanco sounds familiar. Is there scammers in here? Cancel 3-letter links, please. There's links in here? What's going on? I don't see any links. Benny Blanco, yeah, you look familiar. Let me give you a mod here. Alright, we got 2 mods. So now, the fault is on them if it doesn't get cleared. I hope the sound's okay, because I see my mic is going into the red sometimes, but I know a lot of people hated when I had it very sensitive to picking up my voice, and it would basically wouldn't even start getting my voice until like halfway through my first word, I would say, and then it'd be like, it was terrible to listen to. I'll be honest. Disable links. It's not disabled by default? What? What's the thing? Manage moderators, participants. That's not doing it. Doesn't even show the whole list. Okay. Can I be mod? I gotta recognize you. Wrench me, K for K. Not sure. No. I don't know. I don't know all what mods can do. I guess they can just ban people or something, so I gotta make sure I don't get someone who's like, haha, got him, and I'm just gonna ban everyone, and then everyone's like, dude, can you unban 100 people? And I don't want to have to do that. So, alright, I really appreciate you guys modding, though. That saves me from, and others from getting, super scammed. Hi, prediction for Pulsex and Pulse. When can we transact between these two? Thank you. After it launches, there will be likely a pool between Pulse and Pulsex created, and you can trade into it. But the market decides what is a fair ratio. This is from Twitter questions. He knows the trolls very well. Nice. Can you read my super chat? Oh my gosh, did I miss one? No. Let me check here. I don't want to miss anyone's super chats. I have to check in my YouTube quick. What? Why does this say one? This can't be right. This says one person is watching me. No, what? What happened? Like, oh, now it says 300. I'm being scammed as we speak. Oh my gosh, if I was streaming to one person, that person would be so lucky. Okay, let's go to, I don't want to show anything on stream, I'm not supposed to. Okay, we're looking good. Okay, let me check I should be able to check my super chats in here. That's not helpful. How do you check these things? Oh, supers. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Not Muhammad. See all. Oh, I've been missing all types of people. You guys, I mean, that's all me. I'm so sorry, guys. Oh my, what? Have I? I mean, I definitely missed Alan Phil's Amy. Let's go since he was technically before, not Muhammad. For $5, said this is the calmest and most confident breakdown of Pulse. Bravo. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. You know, this whole community is like the freaking best. I'm so glad that I started like the what's it called the Telegram chat. You know, we got people talking in there constantly trying to figure out game theory. Every once in a while we get people who are just like, when price, when moon, how high? And I'm like, you know, this is not what this chat's about. Cuz like it's fun to figure out all the mechanics of how this stuff's going to work out and why we're better than other systems. Like that's the cool stuff I like, is comparing what's happened in the past and how does that relate to what we have and what can we look forward to. Like we already know the stuff's likely to go up in value. Um, the specifics are like not important in my opinion for, you know, exact price targets. It's like, do you need to know what day the 100x is? You know, if it's going to be within like the next 3-5 years, like, do you need to know 100x? You're like, oh, I gotta cash out at 100. Like, come on. I know a lot of people come from other cryptos, and like all the other YouTubers are like, this coin will 100x in no time, and they just like, and they kind of just like talk about, I don't know how they make those videos and feel good about themselves. I don't honestly. No offense to any Hex YouTubers who have done that. You know, I'm sure they did it in a great way. It's just, it just feels so. I mean, it does attract a certain crowd, and like you have to get those people in to something better anyhow. You know, if they were going to get scammed by someone else telling them they know the price in the future, it's better they get somewhat scammed here into these good projects that won't actually rug pull like a lot of these other ones. So, not Muhammad says, question, what's the point of the OA sacking on the last day to hold most supply? Hey, good question. I wasn't ignoring it. I just it disappeared while I was talking about the other stuff. I saw it come up and I'm sorry about that. What's the point of the OA sacking on the last day? It does it on the last day because, well, it could do it on any of those last whatevers. But it does that because it doesn't want to impact the volume bonus multiplier effect that's given to all the other people before those last several days. The last several days have a flat bonus so that so if the OA were to sacrifice like right now, it would dwarf the biggest guy, and they would take up like all these points, especially if they wanted to get 90% of the supply. They would basically, everyone else's multiplier would mean nothing. You'd have like 1.01 as like the biggest whale after that guy. So the reason he does that is so you maintain your bonus so that your pulse relative to every other normal sacrificer maintains its fairness. You versus the OA, everyone gets diluted like the same amount. Like you're not, like they're gonna have 90%, and you're gonna have your portion of the 10%, and that's fair. So within the 10%. Because if the OA hadn't created the pulse chain, you wouldn't even have a chance to get any. So don't you think they should own a certain amount, you know? And what amount is fair? I don't know. Maybe the person who created it gets to decide what's fair, and you can participate if you want, you know? And the stuff they created that has a similar function of someone who owns, or something that owns a large portion of it, if it's worked in the past and they're doing it again, it seems like that was the good strategy, and we'll see how it plays out. Like, I think people are just they've been burned before with like they've been burned in other projects where there was like a large ownership and they just constantly sell all the time. In Hex, the origin address has never sold a coin on market ever. Not that we've ever found. And it's not like they went into Tornado Cash and came out and we don't know where he's at. It's like they don't really do that. Like they just don't sell coins. Just holds it. It's like, all right, the price just keeps going up. And there's lots of supply out there, but a lot of it's owned by someone who doesn't have to ever sell. So I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Dude, you guys have no idea how much stuff. Like, I literally think about this stuff all day, every day. Like, I only. Like, I feel bad when I'm not figuring out stuff about how to make a good content video for you guys. I know this video is a little over the place, and, oh, wait, you know what's really cool? The Crypto Spar book guys, I believe, are going on like in Austin, Texas right now. I wonder if they have anything live. Maybe we could, raid them or something. Let me check here. Absolutely not. They don't. All right, guess that's not happening. Man. But how cool is that? We have people who are spending their time and effort going around a country that's not their own to explain to Americans what's so great about this new cryptocurrency that they've like retired 10 times over on. Like that's what they're spending their time doing. They're not just like cashed out waiting, I don't know, to rot away. Like they're out trying to help other people be as successful as they are because they found something that works for them. Like you can't get more generous people. And everyone in a world where you get to keep what you earn, I think that's the better recipe for human advancement. Especially for like sovereign individuals not being controlled by a select few who think they know what's better for you than you do. Like who has more right to your body than you? I think you have the most right to your body. You get to choose where you go, what you do, and with who. As long as you're not infringing on other people's rights. The Germans are best. Oh, yeah, the Sparbook guys. Yeah, freaking amazing. Whew, alright, let's see. Let's get some more questions. Hello all, respect. Yeah, I don't want to get like super political, like, especially since you can get super banned. That's no fun. I'm reading some questions here. This guy says, PulseX versus Pulse. In one sentence, which would you choose over the other? In one sentence. PulseX has a huge buyer that constantly buys up the price. PulseX doesn't have that. Second sentence. Pulse also has way more liquidity in pools, which means it's harder to move the price up than PulseX. Nobody's telling you that one, except for me. $120 million or $140 million of Pulse sitting in those pools. It most likely gets bought up by whales so that other whales can't swoop in and get large amounts of Pulse cheap. So, yeah. That's what I say. Oh, I read all these questions pretty much. All right, high prediction for Pulse. Can we? No, murder the one. Yeah, hex stakers are just crushing every other people in crypto. Oh yeah, the Hexus Ranger, he asked a question that I had to go and do some research on, and like he asked, how does the inflation work in Hex? He's like, he knows the max can only be 3.69, but how does it fluctuate? And then he has like three other questions really specific to Hex. I have like a general idea of how, like, because he wanted to know the daily payout calculated, how is the T-share price calculated, how are penalties distributed to stakers, and to get like the math of that, you just have to go check the docs. Like, I don't know it by heart exactly how that's calculated. It's kind of you can just, it's like your daily payout is based on your share of the shares. Um, so that's for like daily payout, and that's yours calculated versus everyone else, and how much inflation is created, because um, and the inflation created is based on like who, like how much was unstaked that day, basically, because that's how you mint the new inflation. And then the what's the yeah, he wants to know like the formula. It's like well, that I actually sent him 3 links to like the best information. Basically where it's like written down in code how they did it. But yeah. And penalties are distributed. Basically 50% of penalties um go to the your share of the shares. Again, a lot of it is shares of shares is how much you get in like penalties and payout and hex and stuff. Okay. I think we're gonna wrap this one up here shortly after I read some YouTube comments. I know that sounds like oof, but they did it to at my request. Would you keep some liquid hex to be able to bridge back p hex and then stake it on Ethereum versus staking on p hex? This guy's question is backwards, I think. LZ Alphabet. He's a game theorist. Welcome. We're all game theorists here. Much appreciated, LZ Alphabet. What's up? Thanks for joining. This guy, I think what he meant is, well, he's saying staking on PHEX. Like what? There's Ethereum and there's Pulsechain. You can stake on either one with its native coin. You cannot stake PHEX on Ethereum because Ethereum's hex contract only accepts its native hex. So, hope that answers the question. Please tackle the Pulse and PulseX adoption issue and number of wallets that sacrifice and how it could affect the price over the next 6 months. Well, Ethereum's ICO raised like 17.5 million or so. Let me see if I can open that up. Boop. I think is it their next page? Next post. Troubleshooting. Is this the one? No. Let's go back. Must be. Let me if I control F 17. There's only 117 on the page. Did we find it? Is it including what I typed in? 17? Useless. What if I say million? There's no way they didn't say million on. I guess that must have been another blog. I thought it was on this one though. It doesn't say it on here, but basically they raised 17 million. So for PulseX, and you might say for Ethereum, like, oh, back then in 2014 or 15 it was, how did we get any more buyers to buy after all those people already bought Ethereum? It's like, oh, all that it can do is sell now. Yeah, they can sell at a loss. They can sell and lose money. So who's doing that? No one sells the stuff to lose money. So people are holding it and not selling it. And everyone else who finds out about it afterwards, those are the people who are going to push the price up. There's a lot of those. There's way more people who don't know about it than people who already know about it. Way more. And they have way more money than what's already been invested. So, I don't think that's an issue. Now, where's my other page here? That's not it. Nope. I'm reading questions. Do it, brother. Would you touch on B-level projects Let me see here. That you have your eye on. We are all in for the win with A-grade projects. Richard Hartworld, eHex, Hex, Pulsechain. What do you see? Sounds like he wants me to talk about other projects. The thing is like, I like to hold the things that perform the best and have a track record for, not being hacked. So whenever this new stuff comes out that has this kind of potential, like of high appreciation, it's once in a blue moon you get one from a team that's delivered something very high quality before, and that is like a unicorn that you want to invest. Like, I'm not giving any financial advice, but this kind of opportunity where a team that's proven themselves is releasing more infrastructure, more awesome projects, and they don't. It's not like their old thing got hacked and they're making a new project. Come check out our version 2. Do you know how many coins do that? They're like, yeah, our last one got hacked and everyone lost their money, but we've got a new project, guys. Woof, we're cooking it up real quick and it's already deployed for you. It's like, how many times can people just go through the meat grinder and lose all their money, and before they realize, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go with these teams that release stuff that just goes to zero? Like, Richard Hart's project he created, Hex, doesn't go to zero. Makes many, many, many millionaires, and now he's building new stuff. And so it's very rare to have someone with a track record and also, like, for price performance and unhackability, and we're this early in the stages. So I don't see the issue with having this amount of people in at the beginning when there's like all of the rest of crypto to onboard. Everyone is going to know about Pulsechain because they have anything related to Ethereum. They immediately have value over here. It's like the best marketing scheme ever. I'm almost like losing my voice. So, yeah, a lot of people are worried about that. It's what matters about for price appreciation is what's in the liquidity pools for how hard it is and how much money you need and how many new onboards you need to move the price up. I guess I have some math over here I could show in a second. Yeah, you give me an idea. Do I have it over here? But what's also even more important is how many more people you have to onboard versus like, what is it? Like, it's more important to have more people learning about it than who already know about it. That's how you get the most price appreciation. That's what increases the value of getting in early for the early guys, because the network effect is crazy. Thomas Turner, there's no way he's sending $200. That's incorrect. It says, thanks, brother. Night all. A simple hold. This sounds like a guy who holds tokens for more than like a year, I bet if you asked a lot of these new crypto people if they've held something for a year, like didn't touch it, I bet majority of them would be like, no, I haven't. Like, they just haven't. Like, Hex people were forced to, and then they got to experience this huge gain. Like, we got to experience this huge gain because we couldn't sell, even though. Oh, thanks for deleting that. And because of the great design, people were incentivized to hold it longer, and so they did. And then you got to experience this huge gain, even though there's not that many people who know about it yet. Imagine when we have 10x the people and 10x the stakers in Hex. It's like the price has to do more than 10x. It's like gonna be insane. But thank you so much, Thomas Turner. You are amazing. I really appreciate that. $200 is a lot. That is a lot of money, dude. Thank you. I really appreciate that. You must really like ranting. But I mean, I'm trying to go through these questions because that is like a common question. So I'm trying to go through all these different questions that people have, and I also try to throw in some extra new spicy stuff to share with you guys throughout the video. Now, one thing I want to break down for you guys. All right, so we know it's not like this anymore. But okay, so our original plan was that there's going to be 2.5% of the total pulse in liquidity pools. That is over a 200x difference to the amount of liquidity in hex pools. So it's like 200x harder, maybe even more. That's just quick thinking, but it's at least 200x harder to move the pulse price based on that estimate. If we say it's only 1%, then it's around 100 or so x more. Harder to move the pulse price versus hex because there's so much less liquidity for hex compared to what Pulsechain is going to be. So that was something I was doing research on. So if you go by, let me see here. And I did some research, like 9.4% of Ethereum sits in centralized exchanges, but that doesn't mean they're in order books. It's just that's how much is in centralized exchange. Okay, so if we're excluding the OA in both, let me double check here, because dude, these notes are by a madman. I don't know who's writing all this. I don't want to give any wrong information here. One sec here. Why did I not write down pulse? It does get a bit complicated, but even if we go by, oh yes, that is what it was. Okay, so yeah, if you go by that 2.5%, and then you realize that it's 2.5% of the total, which by my calculations it's actually less than that. It's like around 1%. But my original thoughts were 2.5%. That's what most people think. I think it'll be less. We're talking about the pulse supply that will be available in the liquidity pools. That means that would be 3.2 trillion pulse supply, and that's added to kind of the available purchasable supply in a way. It's actually the only purchasable supply until more people add liquidity from owning Pulse. But it adds it to the more available supply than like the OA's holdings that aren't up for sale, but are just making the market cap larger. So 3.2 trillion out of 14 trillion. Well, actually, it's out of 17.2 trillion. So it's like, I think that's like 18.6% of the available normal supply is in liquidity pools. That is ridiculous. But if we go by my more accurate measurement, I believe, which is around 1% total supply, then we're looking at around like 9%. So not even 9% of the available pulse supply, if that's in liquidities, like in liquidity, that's way more than what Hex has. Hex has, if you consider Hex in the same way you consider Pulse, like if for Pulse we have 9-ish% of the available or we'll say 15 trillion supply. So 9% of that 15 trillion versus is in liquidity versus 0.22% of Hex is in liquidity. If you consider 10% of the Hex being the user-owned Hex versus, we're discounting the OA owning 90% of Hex, and we're also discounting the OA owning 90% of Pulse in this scenario. So Pulsechain has over 9% of its supply in DEXs, which makes it harder to move the price up or down. And then And then freaking Hex only has 0.22%. What? Like in comparison. So that means it's 100. Oh, wait. 1 second here. I have to redo the math because I changed it to 9. So it's 50x? Is that 50x? Yeah. So that's like 50x more liquidity than Hex has. So it should be 50x harder to move the price of Pulsechain than Hex. Whew. Oh man. I'm getting through it. Woo. So yeah, that was some research I was doing. Pretty crazy. Because we know that lower, like, I was gonna do a video on how PulseX has lower liquidity, or doesn't have as much liquidity necessary as Pulse does, because Pulse is already tied to everything because ETH was tied to everything before the fork. So I did all this math and I was like, holy crap, Pulse is gonna be harder to move than pretty much all these other coins. And so, yeah. It'll be harder to move, but I still think the price will go up very high, very fast, because those whales are not going to want these coins to be purchased for cheap by another whale to be able to scoop up like $100 million worth of these kind of cheap Pulse early on. So I think we can see a lot of that being purchased off the market. Then there's not as much Pulse on the market anymore, so that percent should drop as the price goes way up. But I thought it was pretty cool that to compare the two from like 9% to 0.22%. If you compare Pulsechain and how it should look at the start compared to Hex, so it'd be harder to move Pulsechain, but Hex should be still just as easy. And then PulseX should be similar to Hex in that regard because it doesn't need a lot of liquidity. It just needs like a couple million, maybe 10 million, and then it can get bought up real easy. The price will go up way high, and so that's what I'm looking forward to for PulseX. I hope there's not even an incentive for PulseX, and then there's like barely any liquidity, and then when that potential buyer comes in, they really got to push that price up because they're buying it so with so much value, even though there's not much in the pool. Very exciting. Yeah, I looked into, because I didn't want to just make up the 90% OA ownership of Hex number, so I looked and I reached out to Silver the Antidote, and I was like, hey, you did some research on this a long time ago with the daughter addresses and calculated all these things. And he recommended me go message Gunther in Telegram, and he has a whole channel called like Hex Audit with like 400 people in it, and he has a spreadsheet that goes. He did all the research, and from his calculations, the OA owns around 90% of Hex. So, dude, I do need pizza. Hope he's talking to me. Dude, give me pizza. Oh my gosh, I need to go eat food. Man, this has been so fun. I told you guys it was gonna be a long one. I really appreciate everyone coming out here and all the donations. Very awesome. Thank you so much. I really feel like I'm on the right path. You know, with all the responses I've been getting. I only get hate every once in a while, and then I just remove them from the channel. Like some people are just like, they're just mean for no reason. Like they're not even curious about what I'm talking about. It's more like a character attack or something, you know. I don't mind being called Jimmy Neutron. That's cool. The hair is like hilarious, I guess. I don't know how it got so high today. It's like, wow. Go get some food? Yeah. Thanks, Benny. Yeah, this stuff is so much fun to talk about. So you can look forward to an interview coming out between me and Megan Mindset. Make sure you like the video, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. I know it sounds like a mantra, but like this stuff really helps the channel, and then, you know, I make more content more often. Not that I won't if you don't do it, but hey, if I realize people are really liking this stuff, then I make more. And then there's also I think Gerardo and I are gonna do a stream coming up here, so look forward to that. That guy's awesome. Anyway, yeah, hit the thumbs up. Peace out, everybody. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Peace.